This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And we're going to be talking to you lots, so you might as well pick up your telephone. Incidentally, a few people have said that they would like a copy of the book signed for a member of their family, their mum, their sister, their brother, their dog, their cousin, their next-door neighbour, their Uncle Harry, their dad, or whoever. Now, if that's the case, I've had a word with the publisher, Northern Heritage. Go to their website. On their website, there is a box saying if you want to buy a copy, just tell them what you want me to say, and I'm going to spend a whole day in there doing nothing else but writing in dedications to the people you want it dedicated to, and then we'll send it out in time for your Christmas, okay? So that is the plan. So Northern Heritage, that's where you click. We'll put the link up so that you can go directly to it if you should so desire. But so many people have been saying, can I send it in? Well, I can't trust the post from this building at all. After all, they did sack me. So I'm not going to do that. Rather give it to somebody who I know will get the books to you before that glorious day of days. Okay? So if you go to the website, that's cool. 0191 488 So there's a bit more to it than that, because there's nobody here is the essence of it all. I was just hyping it up a bit, but you know what I mean. Anyway, who am I talking to? Bill is who I'm talking to, and Bill is with me in Sunderland. But the very strange thing is, oh, there it is. I had inadvertently lost the mouse, and that's not the right mouse. So if Hollywood McShane would like to come in here and actually try and help me find the mouse, I will actually try and talk to you. That's an interesting thing. I've only got one mouse. I've normally got two. Oh, there it is. Somebody's been hiding it. It's the mouse that roared. We have Bill from Sunderland. Let's talk to him. Hiya, Bill.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Mill.
You just had me think about three blind mice there. I'm just laughing my head off.
No, he wasn't blind. I was blind. The mouse probably could see perfectly well. Anyway, we've got you, Bill. What can we do for you, mate?
Anyway, we're just talking about food and different things, you know. Yeah. And like insects are one of the highest protein foods around in the earth. And it's only public perception that puts us off what we can eat, you know. And there are certain insects that are absolutely delicious. And one of them I came across, and it was deep-fried male crickets. Now, this is quite a delicacy in Thailand and around Vietnam and it's Cantonese. But you can also buy these in tins in Newcastle, in a certain area of Newcastle.
Yeah, but I'm tempted to say the cricket might have well been in the tin, but it was supposed to be peaches, probably. So, how did you? Where, in what field or what kind of type of, I'm presuming, foreign food would put crickets in a tin?
Well, what it was, I'll explain.
Go on.
I worked for a display company. It was long before I went into what I was doing. After, it was about 17 years ago. We did an exhibit in the Life Centre about different foods and about chocolates. And we one of the exhibits was tinned fried crickets. And
what do they taste like? Because you've obviously had them. What are they like?
Oh, they were lovely. Oh, wait. The thing is, it's a real weird thing, Alan, because you'd expect them to be crunchy and gooey, wouldn't you? Eating something like that, yeah, but they're not. Because they're being deep fried, what happens is all of the goo, it all exudes into this lovely flavour, which is part of what it's fried in, you know, like it's like a pork fat or whatever. It retains that flavour.
Right.
So what you're left with is like a shell and a flavour. But you still have the high protein, which is highly concentrated inside. So the goo actually sort of highly concentrates right inside it and becomes like a weird thing. Let me explain. When you eat it, you'd expect wings and things and exoskeleton to be flying all over the place in your mouth, but it's the total opposite.
So what's the taste, though? What's the flavour? Is there anything you can liken it to?
Bacon fries, Alan. Can you remember bacon fries? You got them in a wee bag, yeah?
Absolutely.
Exactly the same, and they're so more rich. It is delicious. Right. And the thing is, if you can overcome what you're eating and just eat it, before you know, you're just dipping your hand in and you're eating it as the way you would eat chips out of a bag. You know, and what it is, there's a lot of food around on this planet we don't want to eat because, you know, we think our human perception is, ooh, no, we don't want to touch that. It's a creepy crawly thing or something like that.
But isn't that the same with people, though, who say, like, you go to Spain and you say you can buy a steak for £2 and you think, bargain, it's horse. However, but it tastes lovely. You have it in gravy or with your peppercorn sauce. Who would know? In some parts of the world, they eat dogs.
Exactly.
Cats.
Exactly.
Should we be eating cats and dogs then? Because, I mean, let's face it, we've got cat and dog centres everywhere and they're chocker and overflowing.
Well, the thing is, I'm talking not for myself, but I'm talking from someone who's from a Thailand's or the Chinese point of view.
Right.
They believe everything is nutritious and delicious. And there's only certain foods that you can't actually eat. But everything that crawls on the ground, they believe they can eat. And then, you know, it's absolutely true, you can. I predict in the future, because of the cod shortage and the fish shortage, we'll stop eating deep-fried, jellyfish. And I understand when it's deep-fried, it becomes the same texture as cod. And it's like, I can predict in the future we will be eating jellyfish, which is just like an insect of the sea. Right. And we are looking now, you know, at the planet. We're looking at meat, and we're looking at the hazards that excessive beef increases and carbon monoxides, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But what we've got is actually under our feet already. We are literally walking on food. We've got this free food, which is all over the planet. However, it's how it looks. Now, let's just say, I'm talking a bit science fiction now, Soylent Green. If you're,
no, go for it. Why not?
Yeah. Let's just say we could process these insects and stuff into a meat-type texture that was like mince. Mm-hmm. And no one would notice. Like you said about the horse earlier on. No one would notice. So we could have this mince is introduced in the food system. People start thinking, this is actually quite nice. What's actually in this? And then they realise, oh no! However, well, you know, it's actually high protein. Years ago, our mums and dads, tripe,
sheep's
you
stomach.
know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But people would eat stuff which we wouldn't even dream of these days, would we? These sort of offal foods, which people now would turn their noses at. And the same thing is with these insects. But the thing is, these insects don't produce gases.
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of pluses to them. Hey, tremendous, Bill. Thank you very much for introducing us to a topic that I think is going to run all night now, thanks to you. But
always a pleasure.
Thank you for coming on.
A pleasure.
Respect, Bill. Thanks again, man. Take care. Bye-bye. So there is Bill. Things you've eaten. Will you eat insects if they become on the menu? Instead, well, let's face it, steak tartare is raw meat. So some people are eating raw meat. Some people are eating raw fish. So why can't we have a few insects fried in a pan? Because if you eat a lot of chocolate, we have to tell you that by law, you're allowed a percentage of insect parts in all of the chocolate that you eat. There's little bits of insect because they can't keep insects out of the process because they're nebby and they fly about. So tell me your view. We're off to Northallerton now. We've got Dakota. Or are we talking to Northallerton from Dakota? It's one or the other. Hello, Dakota.
Hi.
Hello, my darling. What can we do for you tonight?
Speaking today to talk about my experiences as a high-risk student during the second lockdown.
Right, yeah. What's happened?
Originally I wrote a letter to Rishi Sunak detailing my experiences of everything that's been going on during the time, such as the cancelling of free school meals, how that affected me, along with the decision to keep schools open during that time and GCSEs.
Right.
But then when he replied to me, pretty much all that was said was that schools are the safest place for students to be. But from my very recent experiences in going to school, I can say that that isn't true, and I'd like to be able to explain that and get that message across.
Love to hear. What's happened? What's the state of the whole COVID-ness in schools in Northampton then?
Well, the school I go, I'm in year 11 and I'm taking my GCSEs this school year.
Right.
So obviously I went to school in September up to October 16th, which is when I started self-isolating.
Right.
But during that time, there was absolutely no COVID measures whatsoever. For example, masks are banned in the classroom in school. We are not allowed, and you'd think that'd be where they're needed most because it's such an enclosed space. There's about 30 people per class, but it's not the same 30 people in the same room. We have to go to different classes with different students.
And are you still sitting next to people, or are they trying to separate the desks and such?
No, there's no social distancing at all. The only distancing is that the year groups are tried to be separated in the school. It's hard to explain.
Right.
School has 1,200 students, but there's only it's a building built for 200 because it's just a site. There was originally two different ones, but one closed down a few years ago. Right. So now we've got a lot of students, so it's hard to separate them. So we've got bubbles of about 200 students, and there's no social distancing at all. There's none of that in place.
Is anybody being tested out the kids?
Yes, in the past, since Friday last week, the 6th of November, we have had 6 positive cases in different year groups.
Now, hang on, 6 people have been diagnosed as having COVID.
Yes.
Have they had any symptoms at all?
We don't know. The school has told us nothing about these cases. All we get is an email saying, like, someone has been tested positive, but your child should still go to school, basically. Sure. But we don't know who the child is. We don't know what year group they're in. So obviously, since there's no social distancing, track and trace can't be accurate. So then, if a child gets tested positive, how many people in the school could potentially have it now?
Now, you see, the way they're looking at it, and you'll know this yourself, and you don't sound the kind of person that thinks we're all going to die if we have COVID, because especially at your age, you've got everything you need to fight it.
And no, I'm a high risk. I'm one of the small percentage of high risk students.
Why?
I've had pneumonia 3 times in the past, 3 separate times in the past.
Now the thing is, if you were tested, you would be positive for COVID because of what you've had in the past, because they get false positives of previous health problems. So you would be diagnosed as having COVID, even if you haven't COVID.
I've had a COVID test in the past, because when I first went, during the time I was in school for the first month, I did come down with symptoms, so I stayed home and I had a test, but that test came back as negative. Great,
that's good news. Bottom line is, the schools have been told now. The question is, do you believe the government? That's the question, because adults don't. I'm fairly sure most people at schools don't either. Do you believe what they say, that young people are the least likely to suffer any harm from COVID? Do you agree with that or not?
Well, it may be true that young people are less likely to die, but that does not stop them from bringing the virus home to their parents or their grandparents or whoever they live with.
Well said.
Who could potentially be high risk. And if those people are like, for example, say a child has a mother who's a carer or they work in the NHS or something, they could then go to work and pass it on to their workmates because they still go to work during this lockdown. Absolutely.
And on top of that, I know a few people who have their grandparents staying with them. They took them in when this whole thing started, somebody to look after them because they're elderly and they're at risk. Yeah. And they've got young kids going to school unfettered amongst all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. And they seem to think, as long as you stay in your family bubble. Well, if what they're saying is true, and this really is as deadly as they say it is, and I know there's a lot of people that think there's a lot of rubbish being spoken too, but if that's true, that's highly dangerous and schools should instantly close. I mentioned at the top of the show that lockdown doesn't work, And all you got to do any day of the week, and you don't even have to wait till a Friday, Saturday, Sunday when you'd think it was busier. It's absolutely chock-a-block because people are coming up to Christmas. They don't want to take the chance that we are going to be locked down even further between now and Christmas. We're already hearing stories of immediately after Christmas they're going to lock down again. Lockdown hasn't stopped it, hasn't slowed it down. What do you think should happen then? Because you're at the rough end, I suppose. Yes, older people are far more at risk than you guys are. You're of special risk because of your health issues. But what do you think should happen? Or do you think they should shut the schools then?
I do. I think schools should go back onto online learning. From what I've heard, it looks like that since Wales has recently said GCSEs are going to be cancelled, it looks like they're going to do the same here. So I think that rather than students risking their health and their family's health by going into school, they should instead move on to online working so that all students can then show their progress. But then, of course, I also understand that internet and stuff isn't available for all students. So I get that, but special exceptions could be made. For example, they could had an open schools, socially distanced this time because there'd be less students going in for those special circumstances, and measures could be taken. Yeah,
but you know yourself though, and if I was told by the school, "Oh, you're working from home," I would be working probably a tenth as hard as I would if I was at school, because you're at home and the telly's on and my mate wants a game of football, and even though I should be socially distancing, I'm going to have a computer game with my friend. There's temptations galore, isn't there, at home? Or do your parents stand behind you with a whip?
Oh, I really enjoyed doing. I really like doing schoolwork. I'm a big learner.
Good.
I have autism,
right.
So I take my schoolwork very seriously, so that I'm not looked down upon any more than any other person. And the first lockdown, when everything was done online, it benefited me a lot because of that. I could write everything down rather than having to speak up and contribute. So my grades went from being about grade 6s to grades 8s and 9s in just a few months.
That's brilliant.
So that benefited me a lot. I didn't have to be told to work. I did all of the work.
But you do also know, though, that traditionally, if everything was normal, and let that be so soon, if everything was normal, right now you'd be getting ready for your mock exams.
I think I would have taken my mock exams last year in year 10, in my school anyway, but those got cancelled.
Right, absolutely. But you'd be taking your mocks and getting ready for and depending on how well you did, you'd know which exams you were taking next year for your proper exams, and you'd be building up a bank of knowledge to prepare you for either going to college, university, or going into work, whatever your choice is. It just seems that your whole life's been put on hold and you've lost a year already.
It does, because obviously we're in that awkward year. I know students last year had their GCSEs, their grades. There was some kind of system that didn't go well, but they didn't lose nearly as much as what we did. Lockdown started in March.
Right.
But our lockdown started in March of year 10. So not only have we missed a good 6 months of year 10 work, but we haven't been able to learn properly since September of year 11 because of the different self-isolation.
Sure. It's been on and off right the way through. It's been a nightmare.
So, and because there's also, the government isn't clear about what's going to happen with GCSEs. Like my English class, for example, they said that one subject of the 4 is going to be dropped. But we didn't know what. So we had to keep revising for all of the subjects, even though we knew one of them was going to be dropped, but we didn't know which one. So that's time wasted.
It is, absolutely. The worst thing is, and I know people make excuses for the government by saying, well, they had no idea it was going to be like this. No, they didn't. But they did say that everybody was going back to school, so there should have been a plan in place. It's not like they haven't had time to put one together. However, it is what it is. It looks like you're stuck to be, maybe the exams won't happen again. Well, that just makes it even longer for you. You're gonna be still at school when you're 20. The way things are going.
It's looking like this year it's gonna be course assessed. Like rather than we take an exam, the teachers are gonna look at our work throughout the year and decide our grades based on what they see of our knowledge from that.
Is that acceptable to you?
For me, normally it would be fine because I always do a lot of work and I always try to prove myself in school because I'm autistic, so
Right.
I always feel the need to prove that I'm not any less than any other person. But this year, because I've had to self-isolate from school, school hasn't set any work for me at all while I've been self-isolating in order to psychologically trick me into going into school so my grades don't drop. But then that's putting me at a disadvantage because if school does then have to decide my grades via the work, won't have anything to mark because they haven't given me any.
It's less than ideal by a long shot. But can I just say, the way that you've handled yourself on the radio in front of the amount of people that's listening is exemplary. You're not doing so bad. You're very, very bright. I think there's great things ahead for you, and keep on studying. Good luck to you. I hope it all works out. Stay well, more importantly. Do you hear me?
Yes, I'm staying safe. My mum, I'm a young carer for my mum. She's high risk too. She's had a stroke and a heart condition, and I'm looking after her to the best I can.
Good girl. Stay well, the pair of you. You take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dakota. How great was she? Bright as a button. Let's go and talk to Liz, who's in Wingate. Hello, Liz.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, darling. What can we do for you tonight?
I'm just so pleased I found you.
Well, so am I.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back, Liz.
First time I rang in, like.
Good. Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I was just thinking, because I love to listen about the ghost stories and things.
All right.
And a few years ago, I used to go on the ghost hunts.
Oh, brilliant. Where did you go?
People. We went along the A19 in the Nissan to an airfield.
All right, yes.
It was like a hangars, you know.
Uh-huh.
And the last one I went to was the Castle Keep.
Oh, brilliant. Right. Oh, you've been to a couple of classics then.
Yeah, well, the Castle Keep was pulled off a bit.
Why?
And I'm not frightened. Not frightened of nothing as a rule.
No? What happened?
Well, I tend to wander off because I'm not frightened of the dark or anything, you know.
Right.
I mean, I lived in a graveyard for 5 years on my own. You know, it doesn't bother us.
No, as long as it's not your headstone, that's the thing.
That's it, yeah. But the keep, they all went down into the dungeons. I never bothered going down there because there's a lot of people there at that time.
Right.
And I ended up wandering upstairs.
Okay.
And I got these tremendous pains in my head, but not like a headache. They were like shooting pains.
Right.
And, you know, when you just feel there's somebody there, I couldn't say nothing.
Mm.
But I could feel something, and it felt as though it was something to do with it was somebody who looked like a bit like Cat Weasel.
Right. Uh-huh.
From years ago, you know, a skinny, horrible thing he was. And I feel as though he had like something wrong with his head, like syphilis or something. Right. Because and I knew nothing at all about the keep.
Right.
And I think it frightened us a bit, put us off a bit, because it was really.
Well, you know, if you're open to things, you go into a place and you feel a lot of what the energy felt when it died, and you can feel bilious and, you know, stomach problems, headaches, anxiety. Fear is probably the most common one. But you obviously felt something there, and you believed that there was somebody or something in the room with you too. Yes,
I just felt as though it was some skinny, looked like Cat Weasley type fella.
Right.
And from years ago, and I just felt as though it wasn't a nice person, and he had something wrong with his head, like maybe syphilis or something. I felt as though I was getting shooting pains in my head, attacking my brain.
Right.
And it was frightening, and it put us off going for a bit.
Right. No, but the good thing is at least you've had a crack. At least you've had an idea. You've got a fair idea of what goes on in these things.
Yeah.
That's good.
I've been to see, I've been to spiritualists and being called out.
Right.
And I've been to see that. He used to be on the Most Haunted, that Derek
Akora, yes.
Yes, and when he was on Most Haunted, to be quite honest, I thought he was rubbish.
Right.
But when I went there, and it was unexpected, and I was at Sunderland at the theatre, and I was just taking somebody's place because he dropped out, and he got me up on the screen straight away, and I thought, oh God.
Was he right?
He was good with it, very good with it. I couldn't be guessing the sort of things I mentioned, you know. And I was surprised because I felt ashamed because when he was on telly, I thought he was rubbish.
Oh, well, that's good as long as you got something out of it.
Yeah,
Hey,
I did.
Wonderful. Liz, thank you very much for coming on. Ghosty, you've opened another door for us tonight. Thanks for coming on, darling.
Door.
Great to hear from you again.
Yes, thank you.
Glad you
Bye.
found us. Bye-bye. Liz there from Wingate. Have you been on a ghost hunt? What did you see? What did you experience? Have you witnessed something that you didn't expect when you weren't on a ghost hunt? Do tell. Or a big shout out to Grace Batista from Ross as well. That message just come in. 0191 488 3188. Uncle Arthur, who is in Carstairs in central Scotland, says, if Scotland does go independent, our first job will be reclaiming Berwick. You have been warned. Gotcha. Piece of music now from an absolutely mad bunch, but a downright good one too.
Hi, we're UB40.
Hi,
We're UB40, and you aren't.
Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And David Johnson in Jarrow wants to mention as well. And also a hi to Ian Davidson. Few messages piling in there. And now, I promised you a first clue. Now, I'm going to give you 4 words from a greatest hit. This was a massive hit. It was everywhere at the time. And you will have been, we possibly sang it, you've certainly been irritated by it. But what's the name of the song? The first clue is this. What you might wear on a finger. Okay? What you might wear on a finger. Okay? That's the question. Write that down. You got 3 more clues to come. Okay? 3 more clues to come. Then you've got to tell me the name of the song and ideally who sang it. That's the deal. And if so, you get a copy of Grizzly Tales from Northumbria, just out. And you'll also get a copy, or one of these as well, a Night Owl mug. No, leave the book up longer, for weeks. Leave it there. Leave it there for a month. Right, let's get on with it. And let's talk. Oh, speaking of books, there's another book out you might be interested in from Rob Kilburn from Sayburn. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Alan. How you doing? You all right?
Good to hear from you. Now, you are the king of Tyne and Weird is the name of the book. Tell me everything.
That's right, yes. So, Tyne and Weird is sort of a collection of folklore, strange history, urban legends, all from right here in the northeast.
So, you've put it together a bit like a gazette, I gather. Explain.
That's right, yeah. So, it's sort of broken down into short stories. So, there's quite a lot of different sort of stories in there. There's chapters on things like the paranormal, sort of tragic events that happened here, creative types, sort of characters, and, of course, the weird.
Right, okay. Give us an example of the kind of things you're talking about here.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a few things that I've sort of found interesting in it. I mean, for example, there was some fellas from Gateshead who photographed the Loch Ness Monster. There was a story there about a ship captain from Jarrow who reckons he stumbled across Atlantis. So there's all sorts in there as well, sort of some ghost stories you might recognise, and definitely some strange history that you wouldn't have heard before.
Brilliant. So how did you get to put this whole thing together? I mean, what led you to it?
Yes, I mean, I've been sharing sort of strange stories on the northeast. I mean, I think it's important to try and put ourselves in the spotlight where we can. So I was sort of digging up different stories and things like that, and then I think it was just a sort of logical step, really, to put it all together in a book.
No, absolutely. So, again, how long has it taken you to gather them all together and put them under one cover?
Yeah, so it's been a couple of years in the making, the Tyne and Weird book, so to speak. I mean, I do a few different things as well, like I sort of direct documentaries, which I think we've had a chat about before. And,
absolutely.
I mean, there's artwork similar to the sort of inspired by the Northeast, things like that. And so, yeah.
That's good stuff. So where can people get it from? I presume it's available now?
Yeah, that's right. So at the moment, what I'm recommending is heading over to the Tyne and Weird Facebook page. It's currently up on Etsy, but you can find a link to it there as well. So, and if not, head over to Etsy and just search out Tyne and Weird.
Wonderful. Good stuff. Hey, well, lots of success with it, and let's have some more. Thank you very much for coming on, Rob. Great to hear you from. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So there is Rob, Tyne and Weird, a new book. It's right up our street, let's face it. Good stuff there. We wish him well. And Fiona is next. Fiona, I think, is a specialist nurse. Hello, Fiona.
Hello, Alan. Hi.
Good evening to you. What are you talking about tonight?
So I'm coming on to talk about the marches that have been going on for the nurses' pay rises.
Yeah. Oh, now this is interesting because right from the very beginning, you've had people standing outside or standing on their balconies, applauding the NHS and the people that have gone the extra yard, and then the government comes promptly out and says, well, we will find a way to reward you, but you're not getting any money.
Absolutely. And it's, personally, I've been a nurse for 30 years, never wanted to do anything else. And when I started, it wasn't a great wage, and to be honest, it hasn't really improved.
Now, why did you... We keep hearing this is the reason why, before the whole Brexit thing, whenever there was a shortage of nurses, they just went to the Philippines or Thailand or somewhere else around the world. I mean, even France, Germany, and the European Union would provide Britain with nurses because they could make a little bit more money nursing in Britain than they could in their own countries, where the pay is even worse than ours. What would make anybody want to become a nurse, knowing, because you must have known when you first got in, you were never going to be rich?
It was a vocation. It wasn't. You didn't come into it to make money, but at the same time, we still want to be paid a real-time wage.
Absolutely.
So we, currently student nurses used to get bursaries, and that got scrapped by the government. So now nursing students are the same as other students, the difference being that other students can work part-time. Nurses have to do shift work, night work. They can't often have second jobs. So we're finding less students want to come into the profession because they can't afford it. They can't afford not to work on top. So they're basically training for 3 years and not getting paid for it. And then when they're coming out on a very basic wage. It's lower than the police. It's lower than teachers. And in looking at the pay scales, the agenda for change, it's going to take them a lot longer to climb the scales than they used to under the old Whitley scale. And it puts people off. It puts young people off. They don't want to be into a job where there's very, very high pressure. We've got over 40,000 nursing vacancies in the UK, despite what the government is promising us. But we're not employing the student. We're not getting the students that are going to fill those posts. And of course, you're absolutely right, Alan. With Brexit, now these foreign nurses are not going to be able to get.
They don't want to
come and work.
They don't want to come over because they've heard Brexit. They don't want foreigners. Why should we go to a country that doesn't want us? And we've always relied on foreign nurses. I mean, for the last 30 years, had it not been for foreign nurses of one sort or another, we'd have been in big trouble. I always thought, though, that the people who studied nursing, once they got to the point where I'm about to dive in fully fledged, I'm now fully trained, that a lot were either going abroad where they can make more money. I'm thinking America, particularly Canada, Australia, and or they're going into private medicine because they'll always make more money there than they would in the National Health Service.
And there is probably an element of that, absolutely. And because they feel coming into the NHS isn't going to pay them well, and that there's a worry that they're not going to be looked after well enough, and it's a shame that we're losing them, and we're not filling these vacancies. And the pay is one of the biggest problems for students, because why would you come into a job that's going to give you less than any other public sector worker?
Yeah, and on top of that, when you think about it, it's all very well being applauded and people saying, "Oh, you do a wonderful job." And I've heard from a few nurses who, particularly the ones that work in A&E, they're treated like a dog on a daily basis by members of the public.
Yeah, we're not, as a profession, I don't think people assume that we are there to serve them and that we don't get a lot of respect. And I think that it's a very difficult situation for patients coming into hospital. It's often very traumatic for them. And we appreciate that as nurses. But at the same time, we're doing a job. We're trying to protect patients. We're trying to do what we believe is best for them. And we often are at the tail end of the abuse for that.
For sure. So what do you intend to do then? How are you going to fight for first of all, it should be a given that you are given parity with some of the other services that are equally important. You mentioned things like the police and what have you. You certainly should have parity there. And also, just as an aside, really, the fact that you can't even get bloody car parking is ridiculous in this day and age. It's ridiculous that you should have to, you get paid a pittance, but you've got to spend a chunk of that just to park your car. It's ridiculous. However, what are you going to do to try and fight it then?
So the Northeast, we're part of the big national group, and we started out originally, we had the marches from the hospital into the town centre back in the summer, and then obviously with the lockdown happening, the plan was that we were going to have a procession for the 15% pay. So all of us were going to get into our cars, we were going to drive through the town, tooting our horns and no doubt driving everybody crazy. But because of COVID, we made the decision that wasn't feasible, it wasn't safe. We took on board what the police were saying, that it wasn't an essential journey. So what we've actually done here is we've got all of our members to put the banners on their cars. We've taken pictures of it and we've flooded social media with it. I know down in London they've had the bike riding. I think Glasgow actually went ahead and did have their procession with the cars. But I think the lockdown's slightly different in Glasgow anyway. And we struggled with lockdown because we do want to do these protests, but we are the NHS, and we are very, very aware of how important that social distancing is.
No, it's a rock and a hard place, though. And when the police say, first of all, you are safe in your cars, and you're not going to, heaven forbid, you're not going to infect anybody from behind a windscreen. But the one thing I will say, if you were a police officer getting the money that a nurse gets, this is an essential journey, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and we do feel it is. We in the last sort of 10 years, we've had actually a pay cut rather than a pay increase.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about nurses getting a great increase in the last couple of years, but we'd had a pay freeze from 2010 until 2017. And then in 2017, the government gave us 6%. But that 6% was split over 3 years.
Yeah.
And if you were in the lower pay group or the higher pay group, you didn't get anywhere near 6%. I didn't get 6%. In reality, I probably got about 4%. And that was spread over 3 years. And the government are now saying that they don't want to give us this 15%, which will bring us back up to a proper living wage.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're asking for more. We just want to be in line with the living wage. It hadn't made any difference, and we're now looking potentially at yet another pay freeze over the next coming 2 years.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. The bottom line is they've spent a fortune on things that you could argue, is it essential, is it not essential, because the lockdown doesn't seem to be making any difference whatsoever. Yeah. The last one you could argue, well, it brought down the numbers, but as soon as you went back, they were always going to fly, and they did.
Always going to fly.
Always going to fly. So I know a lot of nurses are of the view, let's just get used to it and live with it like we have every other virus. I don't know whether that's the camp that you're in. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, so my background is infectious diseases. And I think, there's been lots of debate about PPE and wearing of masks, but we do know that it significantly cuts down the risk.
Sure.
So certainly we've been very lucky in the Northeast that we've had reasonable PPE. I'm sure that there are pockets of people that didn't, but in the hospital, we've actually been very lucky, and our hospitals have been actually very supportive. And we're not seeing huge numbers of staff infectivity, but we are now sort of, when we get it, staff are having to go off for 2 weeks at a time.
Sure.
So that's then putting more pressure on the rest of the staff that are working. And we do see staff coming down with it. So it's a really difficult situation for us.
What do you think should happen, though? What do you think they should do?
In terms of...
Well, we know that you want them to slab a bit of money on the table.
Absolutely.
Because that's justified. I think most of the public would absolutely support that. But what do you want them to do about the whole COVID business? Do you want them just to let people get back with a little bit of common sense and a mask, or should they keep locking people down because as soon as they're let out again, back to square one? It's
such a hard question to answer, isn't it? You can't do right for doing wrong, I think, is the truth. I think that the public, now we've gotten used to COVID. We've gone from that initial fear back in March. We're getting used to it. People are letting their PPE slip. people are not taking it as seriously. When we were out and about, you would go around and people would be wearing masks under their chins, under their noses. They were taking it off to have conversations, which completely defeats the object. And as an infectious disease nurse, PPE is my thing. It drives me absolutely crazy because people don't understand that the outside of your mask is infected. So if you take it off and it's lying on your shoulder, you've infected your shoulder. If you stick it under your chin, you're breathing in COVID. What was the point of wearing the mask in the first place? So I think that we have to be serious about the PPE, and this is going to be something that's going to be with us for a lot longer yet. I can't see an end to this, probably for at least another good 6 months.
Wow. Well, there you go. Hey,
really, looking at the numbers that we've got, it would make sense that this is going to go on until summer.
Right. Well, I hope you're wrong. We never know.
So do I. So do I.
I would love to just get an ounce of normal would be right up my street at the moment, and for a lot of others. But Fiona, please get a pay rise. You deserve it, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you very much.
You take care. Bye-bye. How many people out there don't think it's a good idea to give nurses enough money so they can actually have a life and maybe get on the housing ladder or afford to rent for a flat? I mean, we're not talking like, let's make them all rich. They're poor at the moment. And what a job they're doing for having out in their back pocket. 0191 488 3188. Let us go and talk to Emma, who is in the city of Durham. Hello, Emma.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. God bless you, man.
I beg your pardon, I missed that. Say again.
I'm saying God bless you.
Oh, thank you. What would you like to talk about then, Emma?
Yeah, I just want to ask you a couple of questions on this, that's all right.
Okay.
Now, I last time I spoke to you, I was in Newcastle. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to you personally about something off air. Mm-hmm. And now I don't know what to do because I got a job as a nurse in NHS at Compton Hospital.
Uh-huh.
But because obviously I know it's my mother's birthday, even though it's her death, and it's her birthday, and I've come off track, if you know what I mean.
Right. Uh-huh.
I've had a few drinks, but I can still talk.
Right.
But I just want your advice of what I can do. Like, obviously, years ago when I spoke to you, I was a little bit younger. I was about 17, 18 last time I spoke to you.
Right.
And then I spoke to you again when I was living in Newcastle.
Right.
But I just want your advice of what else I can do next because I can't continue with this life on drink. I don't take drugs. I used to years ago, like I told you. Sorry, I don't mean to cry, but like, it's so hard for me because like I'm a born again Christian and I can forgive, but I can't forget.
The problem you have, Emma, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. You say I've had a few drinks, but I can still talk. The fact that you've had a few drinks means whatever I tell you is useless because tomorrow you'll have another couple of drinks, and you want somebody to tell you what to do, and you already know the answer to it. You got to stop drinking. That's the bottom line. And it's not a question that you've got to... It's not a question of you saying, well, I can just have a few and I'll be all right. There's no such thing as a few when you're addicted to the damn stuff.
That's correct, I agree. But, like, I just want your advice on how, like, I can stop that because I've got two kids to think about. My daughter's birthday's coming up soon, and so is my son's. But I don't want to, like, put them in danger with me having a drink. I want to celebrate their birthday.
Yeah, but you see, you're always going to be a risk when you drink, because when you drink, especially when you have a few more than you've had tonight, you know that you're not in control. And when you've got children of any age, you need to be in control. And if you're not in control, your children will know that you drink too much already. They'll know that it's a problem. And yet they're relying on you to be the adult about it. You're probably putting a lot of weight on them that they don't need.
But you see, that's the thing, my son and my daughters were was my sister. And I just, like, obviously, I put them with my sister in the USA for their safety, but I just need your advice of how I can get off the drink right now so I can be with them. Because my sister turned around and said to me, I will not let you see your kids unless you come off the drink. So what advice do you have for me, Alan?
Well, it's simple. You already know the answer. You got to stop drinking. Now, if you want to go to, there's a number of groups that are available, not just Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a lot of addiction centres that deal with alcohol as one of the things that people get addicted to. They're all over the place. You find a one that's near to you, and you do what they tell you. That's how you do it.
Is there actually any Alcohol Anonymous drink, like Alcohol Anonymous in actually Durham or not? Do you know?
Yeah, we can find that. We can dig them out for you. Chris on the switchboard will dig them out. There's also an organisation called the North East Council for Addictions that are amazing with people such as yourself. But the bottom line is, you've had a drink tonight. Tomorrow you're going to wake up and none of this is going to sink in your head, is it?
Exactly, yes.
So why are you ringing me if you already know you're not going to do what I tell you?
Because I'm just trying to get some advice off you.
Well, you've got the advice, but the problem is, in 10 minutes, you're going to have another drink because you're going to think, oh, Alan was being a bit nasty. I'm not being nasty. It's just the only time you listen is when you're not drinking. When you ring me and you've had a drink, it's already too late.
But you see, that's what I'm saying, Alan, right? You're not being nasty, right? You're just being straightforward. That's what I mean.
I'm being honest with you.
Help me.
Yeah, honest.
That's what I'm saying, right? You're not being nasty, right?
Good.
You're telling me that.
I hope you can see that, because I just want the best for you, and I want you to be able to see your children and for them to love you and for you to love them. And every time you pick up a glass and you put it to your lips, you're pushing your children further away.
But how's that though? I don't understand, because like obviously I've got learning difficulties. So how is that though? How do I push them further away?
Every time you take a drink, because you can't handle your drink, every time. Alcohol, yes. Every time you take a drink of alcohol, you're pushing your children further away because it's going to take even longer for you to be able to see them.
So basically, like if I pick up a glass of wine, does that mean I'm pushing my kids out of my life?
Yes.
So how do I get them back in my life?
Stop drinking. And then prove to them that you've stopped drinking for 3 months or 6 months. And then say to your sister, I've been off the drink now for 6 months. I can prove it. Problem is, I've got people sending me messages now saying, this phone call is a waste of time because she's already drunk. Kelly says she's not going to listen, Alan. I know you're not going to listen.
So, the question I want to ask you, right? I was in the rehabilitation centre in South Shields.
Didn't work, did it?
It did work. I'm talking about 2.5 years ago. Do you reckon I should go back there? Because they really actually helped me.
If they helped you, yes. But the problem is they can help you, and it costs a lot of money to detox somebody. Problem is, you wasted that money last time.
But I didn't pay for it. My uncle paid for it. And, I'll be honest with you, I know I'm online. I don't care who's listening, right? But I was on drugs and drink at the same time. I'm going to be honest with you, Alan. Right, I was on drinking drugs.
Okay, well, hey, look at it this way then, Emma. Just finally, because we're dancing round and round the same garden. You managed to get off drugs. That's a massive battle.
I was on heroin. I was on crack. I was on ecstasy. I was on everything. And
right. Okay. So if you can beat that, stop drinking. Moving on. Thanks for calling. 0191 488 3188. Going to play some Spandau Ballet where I get my annoyance removed so that my next caller can benefit from a nice, sweet and happy Alan. There you go. Right. And we might as well hear from Tony Hadley talking about Spandau style. I think it's interesting. It says an awful lot about you that you say. The thing that really embarrasses me to this day is forgetting the words to the odd tune when you've sang thousands. And yet you don't even mention, just look at what you wore, Tony.
I know. Well, when we were a band at school, I mean, we started off as a lot of bands as playing R&B covers like Chuck Berry, "Whoa, Carol, don't let us steal your heart away," that kind of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant.
Silver Train and Saw Us Standing There. Yeah. And we sort of then morphed into this kind of power pop Generation X, Billy Idol type band. Yeah. And then everything changed because you had David Bowie, Lou Reed, Iggy Pop all going to Berlin, La Düsseldorf, Kraftwerk. Yeah. Everything started to change, and this whole synth thing came into play. Consequently, in Birmingham, you had the Durannies, you had the Sheffield, you had the Human League. Yeah. Us from London, Depeche Mode from Basingstoke, Basildon, actually not Basingstoke, Basildon. So there were all these different bands coming on. This is a different period of time. And you've got to remember, I mean, I talk to people, say, look, there were 3 TV channels, fashion and music. That was it. Yeah. You had no social media. To make a phone call was an effort.
But you created this new romanticism whole thing. And I mean, it absolutely worked. I mean, it was right for what was happening in the day. It's just looking back, it must be quite peculiar.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I think it was just a much more innocent time. I mean, we were in an era where you could still be kind of shocking. There's me wearing ballet shoes with dyed hair, looking like Robin Hood or something, and people could still be outraged by what you did. So there were innocent times and they were changing times. I mean, just through the whole of that late 70s, early 80s period, I mean, our country was going through massive sea changes, and it was different. I mean, the end of the Cold War, for instance, the Berlin Wall coming down. I mean, I was there when the wall was coming down. We did a gig that night. Through the barricades, there were people openly sobbing. It was an innocent time. It really was. Band Aid, Live Aid. I mean, wow.
Man. And you remember what you were wearing? Did you copy the Spandau look? Going to play one of their tunes immediately after this. you go. Emma Louise has irritated me just a tad. She says, oh, a while back Alan wouldn't have cut off somebody like... I've always cut off drunks. Always. Because I don't have drunks on the show. Full stop. Never have. If I got somebody on who had a drink problem who wasn't drunk, I'd look after them. I'd pass them on to people. I'd recommend they talk to X, Y, and Z. And I'd put them through to those people. But not if they're drunk, because you're wasting their time too. Once somebody's drunk, waste of time talking to them. They'll have another drink now. By tomorrow morning, they'll have forgotten everything that I've said. Waste of time. Passing them on to anybody, waste of time, always has been. If somebody's serious about doing it, we'll guide them through. We'll take them by the hand. Day by day, we look after them. That particular lady we dealt with in the past, she got help. She got cleaned up. She fell straight back off the wagon again. And as long as she keeps drinking, she always will. If she's serious, we'll help her. No question. But don't think that we encouraged the whole drunk thing. Never have. Loathed it, hated it, despised it. Understand it's a problem, but if they're not serious about dealing with it, and when you're drunk, you're not serious. You're just, let's get some attention. Because I'm really important, and you are really important, but not when you're drunk. It's a waste of time. Have a conversation with the drunk at a bar and say, got a good idea for you. See if he ever follows it through. Or she. Wayne's just sent this in. Alan, I salute you in the way you handled the drunk from Durham. I honestly don't know how you can control yourself. For instance, her accent changed in every sentence, which indicates a mixed-up mind. If she really wants help, I'd give her the old-fashioned truth and tell her how it is as an ex-sergeant in the parachute regiment. I know how to eventually make her see the truth and sort herself out, hopefully. But you know, fella, some people just can't be helped. I feel for our children as they are completely innocent in this. Sorry for the rant. Wayne the Para. Thank you very much. It's the big one. Let's get back into talking to people. That's the most important thing. We got Jordan next in Stanley. Or is it Stanley and Jordan? We'll find out. Hello, Jordan.
Hi there.
Hello. What are you talking about today?
I'm talking about a paranormal team that I go out with and my experience with the paranormal team.
Okay. Tell me where you've been and what you've done.
I'm part of a paranormal team called Swiss. They are based in Southwest Yorkshire.
Right.
We have been to many places. Obviously, I cannot give out locations due to the buildings.
Right.
But no, I really enjoyed this experience that I do. I'm currently thinking on going live in the Northeast on some locations for the team.
Great.
Obviously, with it being during lockdown, keep our viewers entertained. And
got to be a bit careful, though, because if you're out with a team,
it's going to be people in my support bubble.
Right. It's just if people see you on screen and nobody's masked up and you're out somewhere, you might get an ounce of criticism with that regard. So just be careful about it. That's what I'm saying.
I will do, yeah.
Okay. So where are you thinking of going? Which one?
We were thinking on going to Branchland Woods.
Right.
Over just not far from Derwenside Reservoir.
Uh-huh.
It's actually been known that if you go in the woods and you, when you come out, you go crazy.
Right.
Through the, obviously the spirits in there and everything.
Drives you mad, right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully soon I'll be able to go and obviously see if there is anything paranormal there. We cannot expect this, spirits on performing monkeys.
Sure.
So we just have to wait and see and hope for the best.
No, absolutely. But you never know till you try. And the thing is, the thing that we noticed, and this is the reason why an awful lot of stuff that we recorded in spooky places never ever got played on the radio. Yeah. If you go there and you don't get anything, there's nothing to play. But the times that you do get something is when you least expect it. So the more you do, the more likelihood is that eventually you'll get something, and that's the deal.
Hope for the best, we do. I'll be going live on the Swift page.
Right.
On their Facebook page, if anybody would like to go and follow.
Okay. I hope they do.
But no, I quite look forward to it. I've always been a spiritual person. I've always believed in spirits, really.
Right.
Through the family.
Right.
Mediaism runs through the family as well. So hopefully we'll get something on the live that our viewers could hear that we possibly can't until we get, obviously, our equipment out.
Sure. Well, the interesting thing is not actually necessarily finding something. It's watching people reaching out and giving it a go. So hopefully you'll get a bit of a following for it, I would have thought.
Yeah. All we just do, we just try and prove if there is life after death. And
That's what they'll be looking for. Absolutely.
And if there is, just hopefully see what their story is, really, and how they died and what were they into. You get spirits in witchcraft and all sorts. Like, you get witches who can communicate through you, but you just got to be very careful when you go out of these things because anything can happen.
Anything. That's the reason why you'll get an audience. Well, good talking to you, Jordan. I hope it goes well for you, man. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Alan.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. There is Jordan, a ghost hunter. He's going to take his social bubble out. There you go. Take your bubble out for a walk. 0191 488 3188. Amanda's been on in a couple of places saying, what was that spell that you read out a while ago, carving negative things into an apple and placing the apple into a bowl of vinegar? It's very easy. There's a number of rhymes that can go with it. I haven't got them with me at the moment, but I'll dig them out. You put the negative things that you want rid of carved into the apple. Put the apple into vinegar until the following morning. The messages are shining out in brown because of the vinegar. And then you take the apple as far away from your home as possible and you bury it so that you're getting the negativity out of your house, out of yourselves, and leaving it far, far away where it can't hurt you anymore. That's the theory behind it. Does it work? Funnily enough, it did work for me. Second time I tried it didn't work quite so well, but the first time, 3 or 4, 5 things in a row kind of went my way, which after the year and a half that I've had, were really welcome, I have to tell you. 0191 488 3188. Second clue coming your way in about 20 minutes. Let's go and talk to Edwin, who is in Gateshead. Hello, Edwin.
Hello, Alan. You all right, mate? I hope they're treating you well in that station.
Well, they're leaving me alone, which is as good as they can do. So what can we do for you, Edwin?
Just that the last I was on alcoholism before, like that's right. Just as depressing anyway, isn't it? Alcohol drinking and that.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. But also about nurses, I think they get a raw deal. Like that's what I rang about, really. I think they get a raw deal, didn't they? I mean, I was in hospital like a couple of months ago. I had trouble swallowing and that.
Right.
And Dr. Reddy and the doctors up at QE were brilliant, I mean, he's done an excellent operation. I could swallow things great and that now.
What was it?
Well, it was just I was seeing that acid coming up on us, and it was closing my windpipe up and that. I was having trouble swallowing stuff and that. But I had an operation. It was brilliant. I took chocolates and all in for them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
nice.
I think they get a raw deal. I think it's shocking the way the government treat them like.
Well, it's just you've had the government bigging them up for a year now, saying how magnificent and fabulous and incredible, and put a picture of a rainbow in your window and stand on your doorstep and clap and all this kind of stuff from the government. And then they knew damn well they weren't going to give them a pay rise. So we think you're really good, but you're not worth paying properly. That's
shocking, isn't it?
That's horrific.
We should have footballers' wages.
Absolutely. If you put the two side by side, and I love me football, but blimey, the nurses, how the hell do they get a flat? How do they pay for food for across a week? It's just...
That's what I would do. But if I had flats and stuff like that, I would give one to them, or let them live in it, things are looked after sort of thing. If I could afford it, that's what I would do.
But you heard
much help as I can.
You heard the lady before say there's 40,000 vacancies and we can't get them from overseas because of what we're doing with Brexit. Yeah. So how are we going to attract nurses to come and work for us for peanuts? Why would anybody put themselves so...
They've always been the hated party, though, the Conservative, really, where that's concerned. They've always just been for themselves and out for themselves, But I just think they get a raw deal. I think it should be different,
Right. It should, but I look at it and I think, is it likely that they're going to have a change of heart over nurses when they're already down the Swanee for all of the millions because of what they've done with lockdown? Just doesn't seem likely,
Even
does it?
ambulance drivers, what they must see on a daily basis, yet they get abuse and that, they get assaulted, and that's all wrong, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what they must see on a daily basis, you can't even comprehend what they must come up against, you know what I mean? They've got to go to sleep, they've got to take on a daily life.
Right.
It must be hard, like, it must be.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
I feel sorry for them. I feel we're on the road, I always pull over, flashing lights for cars to pull away, as they can do. I've even went through red lights before to let them through. Took the horn out of the tank,
Right.
But I just think they get a raw deal. I think it should be better. I would like to see Labour in, get Labour in, but like you didn't even know the Labour leader, though. You didn't know how to put him out like that, do you, really?
It's one of those things that back in the day, and it wasn't that long ago, that the North East was solid Labour, and the whole Brexit thing turned it into a different thing. It was never about Labour and Tories anymore. It was leaving or staying. And then we decided to leave. And then we cannot leave because there's a lot of stuff that needs sorting out. And now Europe are going to have the vaccine. It's because it's Belgian. And Britain want it. So can we leave until we get the vaccine? It's a right pig's lug, the whole damn thing. But time will tell. We'll see what happens. But good of you to come on, Edwin. I appreciate that. I'm sure the nurses will too.
You're a good lad, aren't you? Ian, Chris is a great lad now. You did a great job, you two, like.
Well, thank you, because Tony McShane, we could live without him. But thanks very much for coming on. All the best. Thanks, Edwin. Bye-bye. Yeah, just mentioned Chris and I. They're hard-working too. And Tony's on the gin. Few people have suggested I've got brandy in my flask cup. Oh, no. It is particularly strong tea. And I needed a cup after one or two of our calls tonight. 0191 488 3188. We got Paul next from Gateshead. Now, if this is the person that I think, it's a gentleman by the name of Paul Martin, who just happens to be an amazing singer. Hello, Paul.
Hello, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good to hear from you. How are you doing?
Oh, fine. Health-wise, fit,
good.
Happy. Obviously, not too happy with this whole situation, but you know me, I'm just cracking on and being creative and working on my songs, which is something I've always been.
Absolutely, it's just your big thing was gigging. That was your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Nobody's gigging, so how the hell are you managing?
Alan, it was a nightmare. I've been living in Mallorca for 9 years, and winter was always tough, but this winter was one of the first winters I've actually started picking up work, because I did a pantomime last year in Newcastle, and then I went back in January, and managed to pick up a couple of gigs. Things were good. February was all right. Got a few little private gigs. March was looking great, and then, of course, March the 14th, lockdown came in.
Right.
And my diary, which was full right through to the end of October, then became just disappeared. Nothing opened up. Struggled through the summer, and eventually had to come back, tail between my legs in September. Said to my parents, look, I'm going to come back for a bit because I've got a feeling there's going to be more lockdowns. And my children are currently here with their mother in Liverpool, as it happens. I thought I'd best get back before they close the borders or cancel all the flights. So I just thought I'd come back for safety reasons until all this nonsense is over with whatever's happening. So yeah, mate, I literally went from being the busiest I've ever been to unemployed with no financial assistance.
Jeepers. And there's been no help for the entertainment industry per se, and because I know people think, Ed Sheeran doesn't need a bob or two. 99% of the entertainment industry isn't Ed Sheeran. I mean, they're struggling to get by. They're working in pubs and clubs and what have you.
I mean, there's a lot of singers that would have been nice. They would have just had a little bit of time off. The bank balance would have seen them through. I mean, I can't speak for England, but I know that a lot of people in Mallorca and Spain, where I was. Well, I have got a few singers in England, and they're pretty similar. But if you weren't employed or did everything through the books and had a lot of years of self-employed and tax declarations and all that, it's very difficult to get help, A lot of people with normal jobs, got furlough, and a lot of singers, actors, entertainers kind of just didn't.
No, they're just cut free and just left.
Yeah, and it's obviously in Mallorca, this year was going to be a good year for me. I was just about to sign on in May, self-employed, and do everything. I was really busy, and then I didn't get a chance to. And so it was basically, if you work, you survive. If you don't, you don't.
For sure. I mean, when you first went over there, a few years, because you mentioned 3 years you've been over in New York.
9.
9 years, I beg your pardon. When you first went over 9 years ago, and you had to try and, put a property together and fill out all the forms to say, get a certificate that you can work there, because you've got to get all your paperwork up to scratch. How difficult was it?
It was well. I mean, obviously you had the language barrier, but there's a lot of people in Mallorca that help you. Yeah, you just got your residency card, and obviously, I went over with wife and kids at the time. Saved the deposit. We were just renting. Always the safest way, just until you find out where you want to live.
Sure.
And yeah, it was all right. And obviously, because I'm a bit of a go-getter, I just got straight out there with my business cards and started speaking to people. And by the time April, I think we arrived in the January. By the time April came, I was working 5-6 nights a week. So,
brilliant.
And then never really looked back, apart from the winters, which is always a difficult time in the.
But you try and make enough money in the spring and the summer to cover you for your quiet.
That's always the thing.
Time.
But yeah, as the years went by, I started getting a few more resident gigs in the winter, which kept us ticking over a little bit easier.
Oh, that's pretty good. But I gather you got a new Christmas single out that people should be getting hold of.
Yeah,
what's it called?
Well, yeah, this year I've been concentrating on a new project called Karma, which is myself and a lady called Haley Morrison, a guy called Mark Littlemore who does my production.
Right.
Got a Christmas song coming out called "I'm Coming Home for Christmas," and it's getting a lot of real positive feedback on Facebook, a lot of views, and and tomorrow I'm doing a live performance on Facebook from Northeast Films, which is in Gateshead. So that's going to be on tomorrow night on I'm trying to look here on 8K Live on Facebook. If anybody wants to watch it, 7 till 9 tomorrow.
8K Live.
Yeah, on Facebook. So I'll be doing a Christmas show, a few sort of rap pack songs and that, and then obviously my Christmas single at the end.
Brilliant. So that's you and the Haley Morrison. You can check them out tomorrow night, 8K Live. Well, let's hope business comes back very, very soon for you, Paul. Absolute respect. Thank you for coming on.
Nice to speak to you, Alan. All the best.
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye. Good lads. Let us have a piece of music, and I can tell you, it's an absolute corker. But first of all, let's have a listen to the man behind it. And that man happens to be Steve Harley. I asked him about starting out.
You appeared on the scene to everybody else saying, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. He's got class. He's the dandy.
Well,
where did that come from? Being a milkman's son, for heaven's sake.
In the you are of your time. One is a product of one's own time, and while all those contemporaries of mine that are considerably older than me, as it happens, like Roxy Music and Bowie and all those, they're all older than me, and they had been to university and or art school, that sort of background. I never did. I left school at 17 in the lower sixth and became a journalist. I was 4 years as a junior reporter. So I was out on the streets when they were at college. And
Scoop Harley.
Yes, Scoop Nice, my real name. And Steve Scoop.
Mr. Scoop, we could have called him.
Yeah, that was a good life for a young man for quite a long time. But I don't know, flamboyancy, it's not natural in me. It's not an innate thing. It's something I had to develop for that first Cockney Rebel. I think at the time it was there was glam rock, which I never felt part of at all. I was never really part. But that first album was a little theatrical, let's say that. The music and the look. The look was theatrical. But I couldn't let it go for too long because I was creating. I mean, at 21 I'm writing Sebastian, which I still sing. I mean, the 70s pop, which I never was a great part of course, was written by Chin and Chapman and that sort of thing, for Mud and Sweet and
Hot Chocolate.
Yeah, Hot Chocolate to a degree, and Rubette type people. Bless them all, but that was a different world, different part of it. I knew that it was in my blood.
You've never
to
done
play
the
and sing.
Jive, have you?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't even recognise if he'd gone to bed with me. No, I mean, I knew I was a singer-songwriter. I knew that I was going to do it for life, and not sing other people's pap. had to be for life. I knew that.
the voice of the North.
Alan Robson's Night Owls, the phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Time for your second clue that could win you a copy of Grizzly Tales from Northumbria. That's just out, and we also will be giving a copy, or a cup, a Night Owls mug as well, if you fancy. So that's there, and Grizzly Tales from Northumbria, and we've put links on the site for you. Northern Heritage is where you get it from, or it's on Amazon and all the usual suspects. Thanks last week for telling us that they'd sold out Amazon, which is pretty cool. So we have more with them right now. But thank you very much for letting me know. I never find out these things. So let us move on. Going to have a little bit of Des O'Connor coming up soon. And I think it's really quite ironic because I was talking to him about health and life and death and stuff not that long ago. And it's interesting to see because he had a tragic fall. It ended up taking his life and they immediately put it down as COVID. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk to Sue first, though, because she is in Washington. Hello, Sue.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, darling. What are you talking about tonight?
Right, first of all, I'm no scientist or anything, but on the BBC News website that I've got, that comes on my phone, every now and again you get the sound and you look. Anyway, Boris Johnson has got to isolate again.
Yeah, he's been he's been mixing with another MP who's got COVID, apparently.
Yeah. So, but one of my brother-in-law's friends, they had COVID, and after they got over it, they said, look to the doctor, I'm willing to go in, take my plasma and see whatever it is to see if I've got antibodies.
Right.
So he said, I want to help, use my antibodies. And the doctor tested him and he hasn't got any antibodies, even though he'd had COVID. And the doctor said only 8% of people who have COVID recover from it do not have any antibodies.
Right. Because I would presume that because when they were talking about herd immunity and everything not so long ago, it was, well, everybody who gets it will be fine because they'll have antibodies against it. That's not true then.
But it just proves it, doesn't it? If Boris Johnson's got to go into hibernation again.
Yeah, because he's already had it, so he shouldn't be able to get it again.
So
they haven't got a clue. As I say, they've always been making it up from, they make it up as they go along. But so that's a good point, and nobody's made that point before. So what they're saying is, if you've had COVID, you can get it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, well, they don't really know, do they? They say you can't, but I mean, he's got to go into isolation for that reason. I would have thought.
Yeah. Crazy.
But anyway, it's a long time since I've been on.
I know.
But I think the last time you was a while ago, you was on about like things like creatures and that frightened you or something like that.
Yeah.
And the story, spiders. Oh. I can't stand spiders. And I've got two little stories. We've gone in the caravan, haven't got it now, thank God. We've gone off on our holidays in the caravan, and the first night there, I woke up in the middle of the night and there was this huge, you're talking a huge, great, big black spider laying on my pillow. And I've never screamed so loud in my life. That's when I didn't wake the campsite out. Honestly, it was huge. Like years ago in the garden shed, there'd be really black spiders, and quite thick, really dark. But now they're like long bodies, skinny long legs, horrible.
Yeah.
And the other one is myself and my husband had been down to see my mum.
Right.
And when we came back, the Hoover had all like tape all over both at the end of the hose. And what had happened, there was a spider, and the daughter, she's like me, she can't stand them either.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh God, it's huge. So what she did, she phoned my friend, oh Denise, I'm really frightened. She's going, I'm really... So she came over. Denise said, oh my God, it's huge. She took a picture of it to show us. And when I got home, the hoover was all taped up. They'd hoovered the spider up.
They just didn't want it to come back down the spout.
That was all taped up, so she didn't want to come out.
Yeah. Because the thing is, if you know yourself, if ever you've washed a big one down a sink,
oh God, yes,
they will come back up again. They
I
just
know.
get wet, wash their hair, and then they come back up again. That's
Oh, I know. Oh God, hate them.
I
Hate
did
them.
a
Hate
thing. This I wonder how many other people have done this. Once, you know how sometimes if you've been peeling vegetables or something in a sink, the sink gets blocked up with like bits.
Yeah.
I remember once, ages ago, being asked, "Can you just clean that sink up?" And I'm happy to. So I went in. Now, I don't do that thing where, because lazy men do I'm going to switch the tap on and try and push everything through. I don't do that. I do get your fingers in and pick it all out and put it in the bin.
Yeah.
Then you restore the flow and all the rest of it. One day, and it was I remember it was a Sunday, I put my fingers in the middle, and when I pulled it out, all these legs appeared. It was a huge spider, and I did that girly scream, and you do that, you jump back and you do that little, and then you just switch the tap on and you try and get rid of it that way. But no, there's nothing worse than a surprise spider. Spiders I can cope with. Surprise spiders,
no,
there's something very different.
If I see one, I get all goose pimply. Oh, I don't like them.
Hey, well, I'm glad you got back on, Sue. Thank you very much.
Hang on, I've got some other things.
Oh, go on then. What else?
Right. Now, first of all, my sister. As first time I spoke, other than the family about it, I spoke to Chris. So I thought I'd just update you.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Well, one of her tumours has got bigger, so she's now got to have. I mean, she's looking quite poor. Well, not ill as such, but you can tell. You know, she's in pain. Because we actually, when lockdown had finished the first time, we went straight down to see my mum and that, you know.
Right.
And I noticed she was trying to put the dog's harness on. She couldn't even bend over to put the harness on because it's like on a spine, on a neck behind, like in a neck bit. And then she's got 3 on the ribs, and one of them's got bigger, so she's now got to have, she started last Tuesday, radiotherapy.
Right, what
you
a
know.
damn shame. Hey, well, we wish her well. I'm sorry to hear that, Sue. That's awful. But
also, hang on, I'll be quick with this one. You know, you get your funny little, like, sayings, like wives' tales, I suppose. I don't know. But I've got 3 here.
Come on, then.
And one actually decked my friend. She was like, I never heard. You know when you have a sour sweet? A really sour sweet or something, and you stick and you pull all these faces on you.
Right.
You know, and first time I said to my friend, I said, cool, that's drawn your ass up to your elbows, hasn't it? She was like, I've never heard that one.
Yeah, it's classic.
and then there's one which my mum, I say it as well. You know, if someone, so I've done a colouring or something. I'm not really that good at colouring and painting or whatever. And I go, what do you think of that? And they'll look at it, and but I always say, it's lovely. And I go, it's not really. Well, a blind man would be pleased to see it, which is true.
Right, we can't argue with that. And what's your last one then?
The other one is, which I've said to my grandchildren, the granddaughters, and when they ask how old I am, I say, well, I'm the same age as my tongue, but a little bit older than my teeth.
That's very good. Hey, well, thanks for all of them, Sue. Good job.
All right, thanks, Alan.
Thanks for coming on. There you go. Well-known sayings or strange sayings that you don't hear anymore. How's your bum for spots? You know, there was a lot of phrases from back in the day, old northern sayings, Mackham sayings, Geordie sayings, Smoggy sayings, Northumbrian sayings. Do tell if you've got any crackers that you want to share with us, please do. Meanwhile, we mentioned Des O'Connor before. I used to love watching him on the old Morecambe and Wise shows when I was a little boy, when the Morecambe and Wise show was the biggest thing at Christmas. And we were lucky enough to talk to him a few times on Night Owls. Here's me having a chat with him about health and the future and similar things. What is it exactly that you're frightened of then, Des?
Obviously, you hope and pray. Yeah, I do pray that you can keep healthy, fit, fine, and well. I'm not afraid of anything. I don't think you must go through life being afraid and worrying. You can be concerned about crossing a busy road, but you don't have to be worrying about crossing a busy road. And I know that's not the best analogy, but that's my attitude to anything. If you have something that's worrying you right now, sit and write it down, the worst thing that can happen from it. And when you look at it and study it, it won't be so bad.
Ever seen a ghost or had a strange supernatural experience?
I played Glasgow Empire, as I said. The front row looked like that to me that night. But no, I don't believe in those things either. I'm a bit of a skeptic. I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe in mystics. I don't believe in mediums. I don't believe in me and the good Lord.
And what's the worst thing that's ever happened to your body then? Accidents, operations?
Something fell off once, and now you're worrying. And stay tuned for the rest of this fascinating tale, folks. Well, how do you think my voice got so high? Oh, serious. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to my body? Really, as a child, we were sword fighting. We got bamboo with a cane and split it in half, and we were sword fighting, and the kid grabbed it. I knocked it out of his hand, he grabbed mine and pulled it, and the top of my finger was literally hanging off, and I had to run to the hospital and got that stitched back in again. But I've been fairly fortunate over the years, nothing really serious. As a kid, I had everything under the sun. I was run over twice. I couldn't walk till I was 7. I wore calipers, and there's a lady in here laughing. She thinks I'm joking. I could not walk until I was 7. And but then, you know, what it does do to you, it builds up an immunity when you've had all the illnesses. And because I hadn't had much of a schooling, I suddenly wanted to improve myself and learn and read and run and write, and I played a bit of football and an amateur jockey's license. So, you know, I've been enjoying a lot of things. So nothing, thank God, really seriously.
There you go. The late, great Des O'Connor. Nice bloke. I love this, mate. And it's got a swear word in it, so I apologise to Hollywood McShane in advance. Emma Louise, and this, she says, old sayings. Never heard this saying before. We'll never forget it now, Emma Louise. She says, if you're looking for sympathy, it's in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. Now, I've never heard that phrase before. Love it. Love it. I'll never use it because I'm too polite. Not on the wireless anyway, but I love that. Well, I already did, I suppose, but I'll not use it again. So there you go. I'm chastised. Let's crack on and talk to Anonymous, who is in South Shields. Hello, Anonymous.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, mate. What can we do for you tonight?
I was just talking about the wife. Was it Emma that was on about being an alcoholic?
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm going through that stage at the moment because I've been through like a lot of my life.
Right.
In the last year, most probably lost my best friend, lost my sister, lost my mum. And I can understand, I can understand where she's coming from, and I've rang you before, so you'll know who I am when I mention Barry.
Right.
But at the end of the day, right, yeah, it is hard. It's really hard because at the moment, I thought that I could handle everything.
Right.
But I ended up joining a group called STAR, South Tyneside Alcohol Rehab.
Right. How's it going?
It's hard at the moment because how do I explain to you? Because then they'll come on the phone and say to you, what's your day like? What's your day not like? What sparks things off? And inside your head, when you're an alcoholic, you can't really say that because you'll wake up in the morning, you'll have a drink, and I drink 24/7.
Right.
But I want the help.
But how can you help if you can't help yourself?
Because you have like coping strategies. So when I joined STAR, you have a routine when you're an alcoholic. You'll put the can in the same place every time.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do to avoid it, you'll put a can in a different place.
Right.
But what you'll do is you'll still go to the same place where you had that can where it's not.
Right.
And this is something I learned.
Right.
And then I have a partner who's like, well, why do you want to be like this every day? Right. What you gone through? I love my grandkids. Right? Yeah. And you're there for your grandbabies, but inside your own head, psychologically, you don't feel that. So where Emma's coming from, I can understand where she's coming from.
But where does she go? Because you see, realistically, and I give you a lot of respect for going and getting help, because that's the first bit of rope that you can hang on to. But you sound as though you're fully in control. Have you had a drink today?
I drink every day.
Right. So if that's the case, in your own the people closest to you, the people that you love want you to stop and say, why do you want to be like this every day? They're patently not happy with you, otherwise they wouldn't be saying that. Do you not care enough about them to do something about it? And not just say, well, I go to the group, so that's enough. You're still drinking every day. Do you not love them enough to stop?
Yeah, you do, but psychologically you don't feel that until you're in that situation. Because what you'll do is, and I'm being honest with you, and this is from a total alcoholic, right? You'll think, all right, I'm going to do this. And this is what they tell you when you go on these groups. Oh, what you have to do is you have to knock it down 10%. So whatever you're drinking, you knock it down 10%. But inside our heads, we don't feel that. Because whatever emotions is going on through our heads, we don't get that, even though we hurt the people we love. And you're so annoyed after you've done it, but it's too late after you've done it. And I'm going through this coping strategy at the moment. I'm going through a store, like I explained to you.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because you want to be there for your granddaughter, but you've got that much hurt inside of you. You don't want to be there for yourself. Until you can be there for yourself, you can't be there for nobody else.
Are you not just making excuses?
Alan, no.
Because you say, and hey, I can see it. Everybody listening in can see it. You've admitted it yourself. I'm hurting the people that I love, but I'm not going to stop.
I know why, because I want to hurt myself.
But you're not. You're hurting everybody else.
Well, I know
and you're
that,
just having another drink.
Yeah, but Alan, inside my head, I don't want to hurt them because I'm out the way of them.
But that's not true. You do want to hurt them because you're going to have another drink.
I don't know. Because inside my head, I don't feel that.
No, because you're making an excuse for it. You've got the chance and the choice to pick up a drink or not. And I know it's an addiction. I get that. And you've been drinking for so long now. The thought of you suddenly stopping's not going to happen. You're going to need to be milked off little by little. I understand that too. But you've got to stop kidding yourself and saying, well, it's because of all the hurt. Everybody's had hurt. I've lost people. I've lost friends. I've lost relatives that have lost kids and stuff. It's horrible. And everybody has to go through it. I lost my parents. It's horrible. But what you don't do is say, I know what, because I'm hurting, I'm going to hurt everybody around me and then make an excuse that, oh, well, it's not his fault because he's in pain. We're all going to get pain in our lives. Some on a weekly basis. Some have got health issues that they're never going to get better from. You don't hurt the people around you if you can do anything to stop that.
You know what is? Then maybe, right? I'm selfish.
Yeah.
I've got my partner sitting here saying, "Why do you do this every day?"
Yeah.
I wish I could control it.
Yeah.
I wish I could control it.
But you've got to, otherwise you'll lose her. You lose her, you lose the grandkids, you'll be sitting on your own with a can of Foster's thinking, where did I go wrong? Because you're not listening to
on the head.
You're not listening to people. You're not listening to the people around you who love you.
Oh no.
You know, but you're not going to stop.
I'm trying.
Keep trying harder. Try harder.
And now what is it? I made the first step. If you'd have said to me a year ago, would you go to store? Never. Do you know now, I have a fortnightly meeting and I write everything down from when I get up in the morning.
How much drink have you stopped drinking since you've been going to Star, honestly?
10%.
Put your partner on.
Here, Paul, I want to talk to you.
Come on, Paula.
Hello.
Hello, darling. Has he cut down 10%, honestly?
No.
No. That's what I thought. Put him back on.
No, I can't. It's breaking my heart, this, hearing him.
And absolutely, but he's lying to himself and he's lying to you and he's lying to me.
He is,
And
yeah.
until he owns up and starts to be responsible for all the people around him that he's hurting, and he's just making excuses for it because bad things have happened in his life. He can't cope. Well, the rest of us have got to cope. Why can't he?
I know, but he's had a lot of cope with.
I understand that.
He has,
I get
his
it.
nephew took his own life not so long ago, and his sister died.
Yeah,
his mum died.
and he was drinking before any of that.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Right, so he's still drinking. So all of that is awful, but it's not the reason he's drinking. Stick him back on, Paula. Thank you, darling. Thanks for talking to me.
Okay, thank you, Alan.
No worries. Thanks again, now. Take care.
Going to torture us now, aren't you?
Absolutely, because you're a liar and you're lying to your partner sitting there hearing you telling crap, and you're telling crap to all the people and expecting us to swallow it. We know the mess you're in. We want you out of that mess, but you saying, well, I've gone to Star, I'm doing the 10%. No, you're not. You're going to Star, nodding your head, telling them you're doing everything, and you're not doing a damn thing about it.
Yeah, you're right. All right.
Hey, you've got to work out what's important in your life. And then
I didn't know, though, Alan. I wish I knew that.
So your partner's not. So your grandchildren aren't.
In my head at this present time, and I know you'll most probably kick off as no, I don't know what's important in my life because I don't know where my life's going.
Yeah, but your life's going nowhere when you're drinking the amount that you're drinking.
My life is get up in the morning, have a drink, talk to everybody else because of the way I feel. And I don't know if you understand that on a serious note.
I do understand on a serious note, and it's heading for you to be on your own with nobody around you, nobody caring for you, nobody giving a damn whether you live or die. And if that's what you want, off you go. But don't bother the rest of us when you're just going to lie.
You're right.
All right, thanks for calling. 0191 488 3188. He's been drinking all day. Same as the last guy. You know, the lady that was on before. Long as you're drinking all day, you're not going to change. Not going to change at all. Time for a piece of music. And again, had he been sober? But the thing is, he's already going to these places, and then they're not helping him because he's lying to them. It's like going to Weight Watchers and saying, I'm not going on the scales, but I've actually lost 5 stone. I might look a bit heavier, but I've actually lost 5 stone. Nah, you don't stand for that kind of bull from anybody because it's not going to help them. Classic Tom Petty and his Heartbreakers. Let's go to Doncaster. We got Khalil there. Hello, Khalil.
Hello, Alan. You all right?
I'm good, man. How are you? I hope you're well.
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Champion, what you got for me, man?
Well, basically, I commented not so long ago about the whole lockdown rules.
Yes.
And like I said, I don't really see anyone abiding to the rules, like the restrictions anymore. I don't see it happening.
No, it was a point that I made at the beginning of the show. I've been to a few shopping centres, you know, to get your day-to-day, your milk and your bread and what have you. And they're absolutely chocker with people piling in, sometimes whole families. Some with masks on, some not. I don't understand how you can call it a lockdown.
What it seems like is everywhere's chocker full of people not wearing masks, and obviously they're just making it dangerous, and obviously the government are locking down the country. And I don't think the process and the fact that no one's actually going to listen to the restrictions, because when we originally went into lockdown first time round, everyone was worried, scared about this whole COVID thing. But now, after all them months of being in lockdown, and it's come to the second one, no one seems to abide by them.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't believe a lot of it. There's that lot. And then there's the ones that are just plain sick of it and saying, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And the other thing is, of course, that Christmas is coming and everybody's thinking, ooh, better pile to the shop. I've got to get some toys for the bear and I've got to get something for my partner and da-dee-da. So that's kind of kicking in too. And once again, the numbers aren't dropping massively during the lockdown. So you presume this lockdown could go on forever, and the government therefore has the kind of control over the population that it's never had before, because we've just got to do as we're told, otherwise bad things will happen one way or another. Has your view changed about what we should do? What are you thinking, Khalil?
Honestly, I don't see the numbers decreasing. I don't see that happening, whether we're in lockdown or not, because at this moment in time, people are going everywhere. They're still going out, not like how we were first time, where we were stuck in our homes pretty much.
Yeah.
We're allowed to roam about. The only things we can't do is go into different shops, certain shops, and do certain things, like the fun things.
And the weird thing is as well, if you're in Europe, you can still travel anywhere in Europe. Even if there's a lockdown on, you can still travel country to country, but they can't come to Britain, and British people can't go there. So we're actually more trapped than pretty much anybody else on the planet. If you're in America, you can travel state to state. If you're in Europe, you can travel country to country. If you're in Britain, you can't go anywhere.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
But this is where we are. How badly will it affect your season to be jolly then? Will your December be the same as normal or not?
I think it's going to be a lot different. I won't see as much as the family as what I would have done if the situation wasn't like this.
Right.
But I suppose we're starting to have to get back to the way it is now. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right. And do you... So, therefore, let's say if one of the nurses we had on earlier suggested it's going to be at least another 6 months, other people are saying it's not going to be till next Christmas. Do we just keep obeying and doing as we're told for a whole year? Or are they taking the pay?
See, there's no evidential proof that it could go on for as long as they're saying, because for all we know, it could disappear. But
yeah, but you see, there's some people that believe if the government start telling the truth about who's died of COVID, because we mentioned a National Health Service doctor say it's very hard to actually die of coronavirus. You die of flu, pneumonia, COPD, another virus, lung disease, or hundreds of other things. Des, because he was self-isolating, not diagnosed, he fell over and ended up he lost his life. He fell over and they put it down as COVID. It's like, whoa. He fell over. I just, if we started saying this one died of flu, pneumonia, nobody's died of flu this year, because everybody who had flu and died of it has been put down as COVID. Maybe if they changed the numbers around and told us what people were actually dying from, we might just say, let's just get on with our lives, shall we? Like we would have done if you hadn't have locked us down in the first place. I know people are going to die, and I don't want anybody to die, but every year people die of all kinds of things. I don't know whether we should just get on with it and see what happens. It's the only thing we haven't tried.
Exactly. The government hasn't taken that into power. Like, they should at least, like, release us from this lockdown, give us a chance to try and get things back to normal. And then if everything starts to drop again and like the numbers start to increase, then lock us down or make restrictions again.
Be interesting though, because if let's say that you said to people, your favourite football team's going to be playing at the home ground, you can't have 56,000 people in there, you can only have 26,000, half, so you can keep your distance. Every second seat's empty, unless you're in your social bubble. People would go along with that. The grounds would be half full. The footballers will be encouraged at least half as much as they would have been, and people can get to watching and doing, having things to look forward to. At the present moment, you can't holiday, you can't see a sporting event, you can't go to a gig, you can't have a dance. You can't have a meal and sing along to the jukebox in a pub because you're not allowed to sing, just in case it's, it sends out COVID in all directions.
Yeah.
And that's just a guess. So why are we having to live without anything to look forward to? Whose idea was that? Because, trust me, I think people will be a lot healthier doing things they love, rather than being locked down and forced to live a life where they're not enjoying themselves. Surely people, when you've got something to live for, rather than stay in the house and die. Well, blimey, really? Is that what you're telling us to do? Old people don't go out, stay in the house and die. Oh, it's terrifying. I mean, have we really come to that? That's madness to me. What's it like in Doncaster then, Khalil? I mean, you mentioned that people are just doing their own thing, freestyling out there.
It's not that bad. It's obviously at this moment in time, Doncaster's quite quiet.
Right.
Normally it's really busy, but obviously with not being able to do anything, it's a lot quieter than usual.
Sure. Right. Well, let's hope, given a few months, figures will drop. People will realise that we've got lives to lead, and we can get on with them. We've already ruined the economy for the next 10 years. People aren't going to get pay rises. Everybody's going to get frozen wages, or they're going to be paid off in massive redundancies and da-de-da. We can see all of that coming. And then we got Brexit. We don't know what's going to happen with that. The future is one huge question mark. And I'm a big fan of certainty, having an idea at least what we're all going to be doing in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Nobody can say now, nobody. Everybody's future is completely up in the air and in the hands of people that I don't trust. That's all of the politicians of all parties. Don't trust them. And yet they're completely controlling us now. Never said that in my life before. Scary.
But it's true, though. It's true.
Absolutely. Hey, well, Khalil, good talking to you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Top man, no worries. Quick piece of music, and then we'll take another quick break. Oh, we've just had music. I beg your pardon. He just said, just play the break. Well, I will. And then I'll talk to Will, who happens to be in Gosforth.
0191 488 3188.
This is Night Owls.
Greatest hits radio.
Couple of quick emails as well. Chris passed on one Twitter message from David. My mum used to be like that, drunk. When I was younger, she made excuses until I didn't speak to her for 8 years. She turned a corner in that time and is a different person today for it. No time for plonkies who just make excuses. And for those people who sadly live with them, that's an awful lot of them. So I can't argue with that. And also, this one's come in from Danny. I've been listening to some of Alan's old specials. I got lost in the stories, learning about different events, and goes on to remember Countess Bathory, my trip to Transylvania, and Dracula's Castle, and wondering where are they. They're all available on robsonsworld.com if you fancy going across there. And a lot of these stories, he wants to find out a grisly tale when he went through Bensham and talks about the history of a certain building and how a child there was deformed and was locked away in the tower. I pictured being the house at Village Heights overlooking Gateshead Metro Station. Is that the place? It isn't. It's Windmill Hills. It's a building called Windmill Hills. And it used to be an old government office for a while. Then it became a care home. Still haunted as hell and still there. And people are still regularly seeing stuff in the windows, especially of Windmill Hills. So check that out. It's in the Grizzly Tales from Northumbria, along with 160 other suckers if you fancy. So there you go. Right, 2 clues. The first clue for the song where you could win the book and also the Night Owl mug. The first clue is what you might choose to wear on your finger. Second clue, nickname for Birmingham. Nickname of Birmingham. Okay? 2 clues down. Another clue coming your way in 20 minutes. But let us talk in the meanwhile to Will, who's in Gosforth. Hiya, Will.
How are you doing, Alan? You okay?
Good, man. Thank you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so I'm basically getting in touch to let you know and let all your listeners know that I've got a new single coming out next Friday.
Excellent. What's your working name, Will?
My work name is Will Jennison. That's what I go by. That's what I release my music by. Will Jennison.
Will Jennison. Gotcha. Yeah. And the song's called?
It's called This Year. I suppose you can probably guess what it's about.
It may have something to do with the season to be jolly, does it? Okay.
Well, it does actually, yeah.
And lockdown.
Indeed, yeah.
Oh, blimey. Taking it on the chin. Now, as an artist, it's hit artists harder than anybody this year. So, within the working community. So, how have you coped, or is this just your way of coping? You've put it all on paper so you don't have to keep swearing at the postman.
Well, it's been a tough year for everyone. I mean, at the start of the year, me and I'm sure a lot of musicians had like an entire diary of dates booked in. And for someone like me who's a self-employed musician, that's basically financial security for the year.
Oof, right.
And they were all just taken away, just like that. So we went from me and my band went from being quite comfy and knowing how our year was going to not having anything. I mean, I heard what you said earlier about being a fan of certainty. I'm exactly the same.
Absolutely.
It's strange for everyone now.
But you see, both of us are in a business that right from the very beginning, people say, entertainment business. Sometimes you work and sometimes you're not. The bits in between can be a bit scary. And I've always found that right the way through my life that's absolutely true. And when I took the leap from actually having a good job and dropping a fortune to start off doing this disc jockey carry on, we had a lot of years of nippy bum time, I think Alex Ferguson would have called it. And it was absolutely that. And pretty much everybody that I know who is a musician, other than the massive names, well, now what do? Everything that I had, a year's worth of work, dried up in about a week and a half. So where do this leave us? When can we start again? The government offering no help at all because nobody got a furlough or an offer of some help. We'll try and help self-employed people, but musicians had to go through a written rigmarole, a bit of a dance, and most people ended up not getting anything. How have you managed?
Yeah, I think just on a mental and personal level, it's just been what I imagine all singers and songwriters are doing at the minute. It's just putting it down on paper. I mean, I was determined not to come out of it putting weight on. So, I mean, I've been doing runs and stuff. But beyond that...
we're all doing that. That's the thing.
But it's Christmas now, though, so I've given up on that. I'm just going to start.
Yeah, January's going to be a hell of a month. I can say it. But, I mean, physically, financially, and you said we were reasonably comfy off.
Yeah.
Most people in the entertainment business, even the ones that in March were comfy off and you could see in the diary, that's coming in, that's going to come in, that's going to come in. Suddenly there's nothing there. How do you feed yourself? Or do you just, everything that you'd saved has just disappeared?
That's it. Everything that I'd saved up was basically what needed to be picked into from that point on. There was about, March until... we went in lockdown in March until I'd say the end of August. When at about the start of September, end of August, some venues started to feel a little bit more comfortable about booking people in. So I was getting dribs and drabs coming in. But obviously we're closed up now. But in that period between, it was just a case of trying not to spend too much. You lived cheap. That was just what we had to do. No luxuries.
God bless the pot noodle. I know that.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, but it's true. It's like a can of soup, slice of toast, beans on toast, pot noodle. I've got some pals who are, and at first you think, slide them a few quid, and then somebody else comes and said, you helped him out, can you help me out? And you think, well, Steve, we're not bottomless. I'm only working 1 day a week. So it's like, how the hell do you cope? It's tough times for everybody. And as I say, I just want it to be over as soon as possible, because I don't see the difference between there being 2,000 people in a large Tesco's and 2,000 people spread out in a large venue. I don't see the difference at all. Full stop.
No. And I think that's a lot of the issues that people in our industry have. Like, it's tough to see. I mean, you're right, going to shops and seeing people like crammed up in the self-service checkouts and stuff. I mean, they're no further apart than they would be in a bar in the centre of town, you know what I mean? So
you imagine any of the big venues, pick a one, City Hall, say, Newcastle, classic venue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You put people in every second row, row, empty row. Yeah. What's the harm in that?
I know, but I feel like there was like a trial thing, didn't they, in the theatres? But then I don't feel like we ever heard anything back from that. I heard that they were trying it, and then we didn't hear whether it was a success or not, and then before you know it.
I mean, they were opening up West End theatres for certain plays, and you think, is that just because it's London and they can do what the hell they like because they know we're in the north and we'll just take it?
Yeah, you might be onto something there.
Scary. No, I absolute respect. This year, Will Jennison, where can people come and have a listen to it? Have you done a vid for it?
No, not a vid one for this yet, but it will be coming. The pre-save will go live on my social media tomorrow for Spotify. That's Will Jennison Music on Facebook. I think Will_Jennison on Instagram. And it comes out next Friday.
Brilliant.
So people dig it.
Yes, a musician that's got something that you might be interested in. You can help him if you go. This year, Will Jennison, where can you find it again? I missed all of that. I mustn't have been listening. Sorry. No, I'm only kidding. I just want you to repeat it so you get more hits. Go for it.
Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get it, it'll be there, I promise.
All right, man. Good luck to you. Thanks, Will. Good talking to you.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye. Got absolute respect for these people. How the hell they've managed, I do not know. Let us move on to Mark, who is in North Shields. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm okay, man. What can I do for you?
Well, it's just I've got a little bit of a grouch.
Yeah, what's the matter?
Well, I listen to all these people complaining about their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my partner at 23 years in July.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I just think, let's all get a grip, get a hold, enjoy what we're doing, and God,
how have you managed it? How have you managed to keep a positive outlook after so long?
I'm struggling.
I bet.
I'm struggling. But my son has been the best. You know, he's been my tower strength in the day, and his mates and all them friends. But I get all these people that come on and moan and moan. I think, oh, yeah, wait. Get a life.
So you say you could easily have took the slippery slope and ruined yourself on the back of it. You've had enough misery. We heard the other lad before saying, "Oh, me, woe is me, me life's so bad." It's actually worse for the people around him. But he's reveling in the misery. How come you didn't go down the same road then?
Well, basically, it's me son. He's just kept me
straight.
Yeah, basically.
Great.
Yeah.
Good on him.
But I lost my job on Friday as well.
Oh, those teeth.
So that's a double whammy, but never mind. But
life has a habit of kicking you in the face as soon as you hit the floor, man, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, losing my job's not all. I mean, it's not a problem with that, because worse things happened this year.
That's what they tell you. That's what they tell me. Hey.
I've been trying to get on the show for a few weeks now.
I'm glad you did. Glad you did, man.
It's just, I just want someone to talk to.
That's all right. Well, I'm glad you picked me. So your lad's done you proud with his mates.
He's done me very proud.
Good.
He's done me very proud. I'm at that low at the moment.
No, you're bound to be. It's still in that time where you're hurting.
16 weeks.
You're counting the days still.
You know, it's a hard thing.
It is, absolutely.
And I don't want to depress people. I apologise for it.
No, that's all right. Hey, if anybody... have you got any other mates your own age that you can start a hang with?
I've got people around us. I've got my family. I've got my friends.
That's right.
But...
It's just when it gets late at night when you normally would be having a bit of crack with your missus. I absolutely get it. Hey, stay strong, man. Thank you for coming on.
No problem, Alan.
Take it easy, mate. Bye-bye. What a damn shame. And but he's handling it. He's handling it. Lost his job. He's in bed. And it's the time when you would put your arm around somebody and have a laugh or giggle or have a cup of tea and a sandwich. Usually a cheesy toasty or something like that. And it's different when you look across and there's an empty pillar. 01914 3188. Deacon Blue. There's a band. Not the most subtle link, I have to admit. I'm going to play Real Gone Kid, but I thought I'd ask Ricky Ross first about fear. Is there anything that really frightens you? What are you scared of, Ricky?
Yeah, although, I mean, I tell you what, we don't really tour international, and the older I get, the less comfortable I get with... last week I was taking a flight to London, and it got delayed on the way back, and I just really, really hate being in airports now. And I think I'm someone who, if I could somehow manage to do all that touring, but without having to do any of that stuff, I would like it. It's a waste of an awful lot of time, and it's kind of time you feel you'll never get back. And I used to spend an awful lot of time doing promotion back and forward to London, living in Glasgow, and looking out the airplane in the summer, looking down at people kind of walking and playing golf and doing things, and thinking, oh, wish I was down there doing that. So that side of things, I don't like too much of, but certainly seeing nice places and being nice places is always lovely when you get there.
You are with the big one. Give us a call.
This is Night Owls on Greatest Hits Radio.
You never know who's going to call next.
0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Time for the third clue as well. We're looking for a very famous song, massive hit, something you've definitely all heard. Clue number 1, what you might choose to wear on your finger. Second clue, nickname for Birmingham. Third clue, noise made when you press the bell on a bus. The noise made when you press the bell on a bus. 3 clues down, one more clue to come, and you'll have that in 20 minutes. Then you can have a try to win Grizzly Tales of Northumbria, my latest book, and you'll also get a copy of the mug as well. So those 2 things together. Done. Let's crack on. We have waiting for us Steve, who's in North Shields. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, mate. Talking about the vaccine, I gather. What's up? What do you think?
I am. So, well, first of all, I just want to make it clear I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
Okay.
I'm you know, I see posts on the internet, these people and that kind of triggers me a bit.
Okay.
I'm not a medical professional and I'm not an expert, but you know, I'm a graduate and I'm reasonably good at researching, and I've got friends in the medical profession. I've been having a discussion actually with a friend who is a practice manager,
right?
A relative actually, and another friend who is a particularly eminent. He's actually director of patient safety at an NHS hospital.
Wow.
And he's a consultant gynecologist. So, and actually he kind of, you know, concurs with some of these concerns that I have. So,
right.
And this is about the COVID vaccine, and I'm not coming on here to try and scare people as well. You know, I think it's important to couch it in those terms, because, you know, they're going to be rolling this out over the next few months to millions of people. And a lot of those people, I think there are risks, and I think the benefits outweigh the risks for, you know, older people who are shielded, and I would encourage them to think carefully and probably to go and get the vaccine. That said, the reason that I'm concerned is that I don't believe that I don't believe we are not being given honest information by the government or by our health services about this.
Absolutely.
It's being sold to us as a done and dusted, finished, tested, licensed product, and it's not.
Right.
It's simply not. Okay, and this is where my concern lies. It's about honesty, and it's about people giving informed consent. And I don't think you can give informed consent if you haven't been informed. That's the thing.
Now, I'm going to chuck something in here, and I hear what you say loud and clear. I'm going to chuck it in because it's something. You know, we learn a lot about the future by looking back into the past. Now, I don't know how many years you've been on the planet, but I'm sure you were probably on the planet in 1991. Do you remember the year? And it was the first Gulf War.
Yeah.
And soldiers going out there, they said they didn't have time to vaccinate them once and then leave it a couple of weeks and then vaccinate them again. Some of them got 15 to 19 different injections the same day.
Yeah, and Gulf War syndrome
ensued, and 150,000 people, over 15,000 deaths, because it wasn't tried and tested, and nobody knew what all those chemicals mixed together could possibly do to a human being. Surely, to goodness, we should learn from that and make sure that it has the 2 to 3 years it takes to check it out.
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, we're facing a pandemic, and there are, you could argue, and obviously there are arguments against. I'm not going to totally dismiss them.
Sure.
That we have to speed things up. I wouldn't make an absolute parallel with the Gulf War, because they were given a cocktail of pharmacological drugs.
Sure.
Now, a vaccine is not a pharmacological drug. You don't understand the difference. So a pharmacological drug is something which chemically interacts with the body.
No, I get it, but no matter how much you might...
But you're right, there is a parallel. It's just, you know, the risk with that was a lot greater than the risk with this.
I get that, but the bottom line with it all is, if we're told, and we've been told year by year by year, nothing's going on the market until it's had time to find out exactly what's happening with it, how it does it, and then we got vaping, and in America they're running adverts saying vaping ruins this and ruins that and ruins the other, and if you've been vaping and you want to make a claim, contact the hotline. So all of that's going on in the States at the moment. It's surely we got to be careful with our older people.
Yeah, I mean that happened. There was a particular cannabis supplier in America that was providing vapes that contained an oil which actually caused a respiratory problem, which killed people, and it was because they used vitamin B as an oil, and they didn't realise that put vitamin B in the lungs, it kills you basically. So, but anyway, this thing, I've got a document in front of me on my screen. This is a government consultation document.
Right.
Right. So this is from the horse's mouth, and the title of the document is Changes to Human Medicine Regulations to Support the Rollout of COVID-19 Vaccines. This is the original consultation, and there's a response to it because the consultation closed in September, and they have implemented it. They made a few very minor changes, but this can be summed up in 5 points. It's got 5 sections, not a long document.
Okay.
Point number 1, temporary authorization of the supply of unlicensed products.
Right.
Okay. So this is not a licensed product. This Pfizer vaccine, which is a mRNA vaccine, is not just concern is not just fact it's an unlicensed vaccine, but the platform that it's built on, which is mRNA, is an untested. Well, it's a largely untested platform. It has been tested on humans, but only in cancer patients who have predominantly morbid outcomes. So you could argue that that's not really valid data for the safety of a platform when they're only testing it on people who are more than likely going to die anyway. So essentially, it hasn't been tested on humans. The platform that it's built on, the technology behind it, if you like.
Even if you said that, but if you said that in an advert just on its own, we've got a vaccine for you, but we've only tested it on the terminally ill. That's going to start the queues, isn't it? Jeepers.
Yeah. So that's point 1.
Right.
Okay, unlicensed products. Point 2, civil liability and immunity. Let me just, read one sentence from that.
Yeah.
I can't, honestly, I can't help reading this document. I can't help hearing it in Matt Hancock's voice in my head because it just sounds like the kind of thing he would come in. It seems unreasonable that companies providing an unlicensed product should be subject to legal liabilities, basically, is what it's saying.
Yeah, so they're not going to be...
Comeback.
If anything happens to you, tough potatoes, we're not liable. It's unlicensed, it's been tested on dying people, but come and get it. Come and queue up.
Point 2. So, point 3, proposed expansion to the workforce eligible to administer vaccines now. This one, I spoke to my cousin who was an NHS manager, and he said, well, actually, that happens all the time. People will work in a chemist and will give flu vaccines, and it just takes, a half a day's training course, which is true. And that wouldn't be a problem. But when you're talking about the scale of millions of people and a company like Circle, who've already been exposed for employing paedophiles at test centres, I don't trust a company like that to train thousands of people at scale to administer vaccines to the public. I'm sorry, but I just don't. So, and that's the kind of situation that I see happening at these the test centres being converted into vaccination centres.
So do you believe that and again, naming names, there's pros and cons with every company. I hear that, and most of the large companies at one time or another have had to face litigation over one thing or another. But in general, you think that if anybody's going to dish this vaccine out, it should either be a doctor or a nurse, full stop, and nobody in between?
I think so. Not necessarily. I think it should be managed by doctors and nurses. As I say, civilian staff are sometimes used, and that will happen. If you go to your local chemist for a flu jab, it might be a non-medical professional who's giving you that.
Yeah.
But they're under the supervision of a pharmacist. It's all within the auspices of the NHS.
For sure.
And, you know,
I get where you're coming from.
So,
there's two more things you mentioned.
Yeah, two more things. So the fourth one, vaccine promotion. This is basically, currently you're not allowed to advertise non-licensed products. So it's lifting that restriction. It will be advertised to the public as if it were a licensed product, and they won't tell the public. And you haven't heard it, and you won't hear it. This is a non-licensed product. Because actually what they'll say is, well, it is licensed, but yes, they've issued a temporary license under this legislation.
Yeah.
But it's unlicensed, and this is stated clearly in the government's own document. And then the final one is making a provision for wholesale dealing of vaccines, and that's, again, there are licensing restrictions on who can sell, wholesale, and distribute drugs, and they want to lift that so it could be sold and shipped by an unlicensed supplier. So it's basically taking away the checks and balances. And then I should just say, you know, they finished the consultation, they came back and they said, well, we're going to make 3 slight amendments. The first one on the unlicensed thing, well, we're going to review it in a year's time. That was the only change they made there. On the promotion thing, about advertising, they talked about having somebody as an objective bystander to vet the ads, but they just made sure that person has to be somebody who has the relevant experience in the subject matter to be able to make it.
And it'll be a civil servant under the auspices of
and
Matt Hancock.
It's fluff and it's meaningless. And then the last one was creating additional level of reassurance for the expanded workforce by making it clear that the new national protocol needs to include, where appropriate, the requirements for the supervision of an additional experienced vaccinator. Doesn't say medical professional, doesn't, you know, and it says where appropriate. So that was it. That was all the pushback this document got, and it's gone through. I have to say, I'm not sure if the legislation's actually been passed. If it hasn't, we'll be hearing about it pretty soon, because it's going to need to go through before they can start rolling out the vaccination.
Simple question, because you've been talking to people in power here. You're talking to people who would be considered well up the scale in the grand medical scheme of things.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anybody at any point say, why don't we tell the public the truth?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I had a conversation on Messenger. I messaged my friend. He's a good friend. I've known him since the 90s. Back then, I won't tell you the hospital because that would reveal him. Sure. He was the head consultant obstetrician at a hospital where my child was born. I happened to know him because we went to the same church.
Right.
And we got to know each other. And when my son was born, the wife needed a cesarean section, and I was worried. And I went to the nurse's station and said, "Could give Doctor such and such a call?" And she kind of looked at me strangely and said, "Why do you want me to call Doctor?" Because this was the boss. He was the head guy. And I just said, "Oh, he's my friend." So they made the call, and he was there within 10 minutes. I mean, and it was weird. It was like an officer was on deck. Everybody was, you know, scuttling around. And he said to me, "So, do you want me to perform?" I said, "Not necessarily." But what he did was he went in and he observed our consultant do the cesarean. And I honestly think it was probably the best work he's ever done in his life. Because he had his boss watching over it.
No, but answer the question. Has any of these people, nice or not, why hasn't anybody said...
He would lose his job.
Tell him
he would lose his job.
He'd lose his job if he told the public the truth.
We had this discussion, and he posted a video to me, which is a background video on the company Pfizer and all of the various lawsuits they've had. You know, can we trust them with this? And if he were to post that publicly as somebody who is the associate director of an NHS hospital for patient safety, he would lose his job. There's no question about it.
But surely this has got to be that, because he and possibly you and others have signed the Hippocratic Oath, which means you're not supposed to do anything to somebody that could cause them harm. Nobody has any idea whether this will cause them harm.
Well, I mean, as I say, the risks, I don't want to, I really want to be clear, the risks are low. I mean, I understand a fair bit. As I said, look, I'm a graduate in theology, so for goodness sake, it's nowhere near medical science. I'm a fairly scientifically literate person, and I'm an engineer, but I'm not an expert.
No, but the bottom line seems to be that when it comes to this, and this is what broadcasters have been told as well, don't frighten the public, support what the government say, otherwise you lose your job, you lose your TV show, you lose, essentially.
This is the thing, it's the way it's being done. I believe it needs to be done, and I think that the vaccine is likely going to be extremely beneficial. They should be rolling it out. But we're being lied. If an omission is a lie, then we're being lied to because they're not telling us the truth.
You're being misinformed. Okay, Steve.
That's the long and the short of it. It's not a massive risk. The benefits are huge, and the risks are relatively low with this particular type of technology that the vaccine is based on.
We just need an injection of truth, though. We're not being told the truth about a lot of things here, and now we're being chivied into, hey, get this, take it right now, get it. It's it just feels like there's a rabbit away. But Steve, thank you very much. Been interesting.
Okay.
Good talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much, Alan.
There you go. A lot of people liking what he said, a lot of people not. Bottom line is, he told it like it is. It's unlicensed. The people who give it to you are not liable. So if you end up having any kind of negative to do with it, you can't sue. Why don't they tell you that before they... In America, I don't know how many of you have seen American television at any length, but if they advertise a tablet that has negative effects, all of those negative effects have to be in the advert for it. They can't lie to you like our lot. They have to say, got this tablet, it's really good for you. It works for the heart, it makes you stronger, it stops you suffering this and suffering that, but... you could die because you're prone to a stroke, or you don't take it if there's this, and you got to be careful when you're that, and you're not allowed to do that. They give you the full list, and at the end of it, you think, who in the hell would take it after all of those potential side effects? But people do. So surely, in Britain, we should be told, this is unlicensed. It hasn't got a license because we haven't had long enough to test it. We know this is a nasty thing and we want shot of it as quick as we can, so we advise that if you're at risk, take it. Somebody sent a thing in asking me a question, and I am going to be honest with you. And Alan, Tracy Sargent, Alan, would you have the vaccination when they dish it out? Hand on heart, no. For all the reasons that's already been given. Now, I'm not saying if I was 90 and I had a heart issue or I had COPD or whatever, if you are absolutely at risk, that's a bigger question. Have you got anything to lose or have you got stuff to gain? But on the other hand, you just heard Boris, he's back in isolation again because he's mixed with a guy who has it. We were told that once you had it, you build up antibodies in your body and you were safe and well. So that was a lie too. It's just tell us the truth and let us make our mind up from a point of knowledge rather than not. Tell us the truth. Can you? It's as simple as that. Tell us the truth. We've not had the truth since all this started. 0191 488 3188. We have Sue, who's in Skelton. Hello, Sue.
Hiya, Alan. You're on about minging things to eat?
Yes.
The minging things I can't stand is liver.
Liver? Oh, not if you get a tube in it as well. Oh, sometimes you get a tube in liver.
No, it's disgusting. And kidneys.
Kidneys, yeah. Well, it's all the stuff that processes blood in your body.
Yeah, it's awful, and it is awful.
Mind you, I've had the occasional bit of liver and onions, and I've quite liked it. No. And I had it about 2 or 3 years ago. I've stopped eating it because I did get a proper tube in, a real circular piece of white tube, and I had to put more of that.
My mum used to hide it underneath mashed potato and all sorts and say, it's chicken. I used to, as a kid, even now as an adult, I won't even touch it. I won't look at it or nothing.
Everybody said to me, it says, because it deals with blood in your body, it's blood food and you should eat it because it's really good for you.
It's dirty. In Facebook, you says that the poor bloke got a hiding for doing something on Facebook. That's how I found my partner, Steve, up on Facebook.
Is that
We've been
right?
together for a year.
Uh-huh.
So, it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, we've been together over 4 years, and he's been off alcohol 4 years. January, he hasn't touched his...
Yeah, see, that's what we want to hear. Good on him. And I bet you are happier for it.
I didn't know when he had alcohol. I got with him after he touched the alcohol. Well,
right.
when he was on the thingy, but he hasn't touched it since.
Great.
So I'm proud of him not touching alcohol over 4 years.
No, I've been living with you. That's a special bonus as well.
It's putting up with me. That's what it is.
Nice one. Hey, but good respect to him for that. Good on him. Good on him.
Then, Alan, bye for now.
Thanks, love. Bye-bye. Short, sweet, and to the point. Sue in Skelton. Liver. Is it that bad? I don't like kidneys either. The awful thing, I get it. And yet, I do actually, I'm turning towards haggis. Haggis is actually quite nice if it's prepared properly. And I know it's essentially what a butcher scrapes off the counter in a sheep's stomach. I understand. Let's move across to Ed, because he's recorded something. I've been sent an email, apparently. Have I really? I'm not sure I've seen it. However, Ed James is on the line. Hello, Ed.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you very much. I gather you've recorded a whole batch of Geordie tunes.
That's right. Yes, obviously with lockdown, all the festivals and the gigs and things have all been cancelled. So We've been pretty busy on the Geordie front. Pretty close to nicely related, I think, your Grizzly Tales from Northumbria.
Hoorah!
Except ours are probably a bit more light-hearted, perhaps.
No, do tell. I mean, are you doing the standard traditional ones, like Geordie's Lost His Liggy and wherever you can, you're sure to find a Geordie?
Nothing like that. It's they're basically all original songs.
Oh,
they're
great.
sort of tackling it on two fronts.
Right.
They're all stories about life and life in the northeast, myth and legend, and they're fairly humorous stuff, sort of gaffs, guns and shenanigans and flat caps, whippets and goons, all that sort of stuff. We're tackling it on two fronts. We being me, James and Ed Thompson, the poet from Cullercoats. He's the poet and I'm the muso-songwriter.
Excellent.
So we're doing a podcast and we're also writing an album. The podcast is called Was It a Gem or Is It a Belly Flower? And what we'll do there is we'll pick a story and we'll tell it in verse, song and narrative.
Right.
And then we have a guest panel and we'll present the facts. And then at the end of the 30, 40 minutes of the show, they decide whether or not it's a gem or a belly flower.
That's good.
And,
That's good.
That seems to work pretty well. And obviously, it links nicely into the album. The album came about. Ed, my mate, persuaded me. I'm not a folkie at all, as you probably know from
absolutely.
music, but he persuaded me to go along to the Sage early last year, and we watched Wisecrack Productions, who put on a show about the wonderful depth of talent from Victorian times through the music hall and right through to Alan Hull, for example.
Oh, and genius.
That pretty much inspired us to sort of write a song. So the first one I did was called The Great Geordie Songsmiths, and that's about Ned Coven, and that's all the stuff you just referred to, random rhymes and the Cullercoats fishwife and Gossip and Nan Todds and all that stuff.
Tatties and Heron, all of those.
Tatties and Heron. And then George Ridley, of course, who did the Blade and Races and Cushy Butterfield. So I wrote a song basically just telling about their tales and relating to their songs, and found some fantastic research connections. I mean, George Ridley, who was probably the first sort of pop star from about 1860s, he's actually the great uncle of Eric Burdon. And
is that right? That's amazing.
So I decided to hook the song together with that nice little hook that Hilton Valentine played, A House of the Rising Sun, within the song itself,
Right.
And then, of course, there's Joe Wilson, the Bard of Tyneside, and then bleeding on to Alan Hull and things. So
I just think, though, that to do that is gutsy, because essentially you're taking on classic northern songs in their own backyard. That takes a bit of doing.
Well, I'm not singing those songs. The only one that I've actually recorded is Sally Wheatley, which you've probably heard by, which is probably the most beautiful love song that's ever been written. And the only reason I've decided to do that as a cover is because I've had to accept that there's no way on God's earth that I'd ever write anything as beautiful as that. So there you go. But the other songs are pretty much originals. There's Away Woman, Man Away, and Shadrach, Meshach and Arthur, which were released last week for Armistice, and they called it The Village, which is all about the slum clearance in Preston in the 60s, and Their Souls Will Never See, which was all about the tragic loss of the Gaul and all the nasty rumours about the Soviet interventions and goodness knows what else.
So where can people get a listen and get a chance to see all of this? When's the podcast?
Well, the podcast, the first one's going out in about 3 weeks' time, just before Christmas. And what we're going to do there is we're going to take a typical funny tale like Christmas isn't what it used to be, and then we'll obviously discuss all that sort of thing.
Right.
And then we'll relate it back to, well, I wonder what Ned Corvin and George Riley's Christmas would have been like, and then we'll put that to the panel, and they'll decide whether or not Christmas is as good today as it was back then.
It's obviously a running thread from there, and the album again. Just make sure it's obvious where people can find it, because they will be looking now that you've inspired some interest.
Well, it's all on my website and on my Facebook and social media. So it's www.edjamesmusic.co.uk and at Ed James Music, so they can pick it all up from there. And the album will be out next March. And there's a Christmas single out as well called "Christmas Is Coming," which is a bit naughty. And just getting back to your book about the Nasties, you might remember Ian from Morgan Le Fay. I think you sent him off to Chillingham.
Oh, I did indeed. He's a nice guy.
He's mentally scarred to this day, Alan.
Hey, well, give him my regards.
We had him sitting in the dungeon for hours there, like dodging ghosts.
Served him right. Anyway,
absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Ed. Good to talk to you, man.
And you, bye.
Bye-bye. There you go. So there's a lot of stuff out there. So the invention's still there, the talent's still there. We just got to find a way to be able to watch them up on stage doing all this stuff. And it's not the same watching it down a computer. It's not. It's just not. Anybody that's ever been to a gig and felt that tingle in the raw when they come on, it's a different thing altogether. Right, Chris the Trucker. All stand for a trucker. We like Kings of the Road. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Good, man. What you got for me?
Well, I put a bit on Facebook earlier on. Worst thing I've ever eaten.
Oh, what was that?
It was something you sent us, actually. It was a scorpion lolly.
Oh, yes. And you had to suck it until you got to the actual insect.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not an insect. It's I don't know what the hell it is, but it's scorpion anyway. So,
yeah,
I mean, what would
the
this?
little creepy crawly in the middle, and it was like that. The actual candy bit was like quite nice. It was just like normal candy.
Yeah.
But then once you got down to the scorpion, it tasted bitter and horrible and just sour and foul and.
Well, you were daft enough to eat it, so.
Well, I'll give anything a try. It's like I put on the Facebook post. I've ate crickets and mealworms and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
I've even had crocodile steaks when I was in the army and stuff like that.
Wow, brilliant.
So the crocodile steaks were actually quite nice. They were flaky, like fish.
Right.
So it was like flakes of meat,
right.
But it tasted like pork.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So,
it's just I know that you guys, when you're on the road, and I always thought it was kind of like convenience food or whatever bait you took along with you. Now I realise you're eating in far better places than I thought.
Yeah.
Get me an alligator steak and make it snappy.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that was back when I was in the army. That was years ago now. But when I was in training, we were in the same camp as where the chefs do all their training. So obviously they just used to throw random ingredients at the chefs and say, "Here, make something with that," sort of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I had crocodile steaks and ostrich burgers and.
Right. And they're selling those kind of things now, like kangaroo and stuff. You can get in supermarkets now as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm not shy of putting anything in my mouth, so I'll give most things a go.
Right. Don't tell the other lads that.
I'll draw the line at some things.
I was going to say it would change the lane you usually drive in. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, great to hear from you, Chris. Thanks for coming on.
Well, Alan, I've got a couple more things.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
While I'm on, obviously, I just wanted to say, as you know, I'm a massive motorsport fan, so I wanted to say a massive congratulations to Lewis Hamilton.
Absolutely, yeah.
7 times world champion. It's
amazing.
Just unbelievable. He's on track to be the most successful driver ever.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
good
yeah,
stuff.
and obviously it's sad news about Des O'Connor as well.
Yeah, shame. Nice guy.
He's one of the people who were like constantly on the telly, just like Bobby Ball.
Yeah,
just constantly on the telly when I was growing up. So it's sad, yeah.
It is indeed. Hey, but good to talk to you nonetheless. Thanks for coming on.
I've got a couple of jokes just before I go.
Always do a joke. Go for it.
So I went to a seafood disco last week. Pulled a muscle.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear about the kidnapping at the school?
No.
It's okay, he woke up.
Oh, dear me. Thank you and good night. Good talking to you, mate. Yeah, cheers. Chris the Trucker. Okay, time for your final clue. And let's see how well you can do with this. Chris is waiting for you on 0191 488 3188. Have that number handy because only a few people will get this correct. A lot of people say it's my ding-a-ling. Of course it isn't. Chuck Berry. Pah. This is a massive, massive, massive hit. Clue number 1. What you might wear on a finger. Second clue. The nickname for Birmingham. Third clue, the noise made when you press the bell on a bus. Fourth clue, word before dong. Okay, and not big, okay? The first clue, what you wear on your finger. The nickname for Birmingham. The noise made when you press the bell on a bus. And the word before dong. You've got 4 words. It was a massive hit. It's a greatest hit on Greatest Hits Northeast. Name that greatest hit. 0191 488 3188 if you can. And while you're thinking about it, here's Bryan Ferry talking about his childhood. So what exactly was your childhood like then?
It was great, actually. It was... Washington was a kind of pit village, really, surrounded by, very nice farmland. My dad... he sort of came from a farming background. My mother came from the town, and so I guess I got a bit of both of them and me, I am part like my dad and part like my mother. It's very strange. And so I always liked being in the town, being in the city, going to Newcastle. I used to go there to work every Saturday when I was at school. I worked in a tailor shop on Northumberland Street.
Did you do any other kind of jobs?
All sorts. Well, of course, I had a paper job in the morning, delivering papers, and then in the evening, doing the same thing after school. And then Saturdays, I'd sell the, the football papers around the pubs. You'd sell the Sunderland one and the Newcastle. I'm not sure if they still have them. And it seemed to colour a lot of people's lives, isn't it? Whether they were supported one team or the other.
The rivalry's still as strong as it ever was.
Yeah, but when you tend to leave the area, you sort of just support the whole area, kind of. So if you see, Hartlepool are doing well, it's like, yeah, great. But I lived in Newcastle, you see, after school. I went to live I went to the university in Newcastle for 4 years, so it was a big part of my growing up in the town. And I lived in Jesmond, of course, and had a great flat there, and we always had lots of parties, and it was a hell of a time, really.